If you want to stay on this ride, you better have a strong heart. As my partner and I sat waiting for a call, I began to tell her the story that I'd seen on TV. But for some unknown reason, I couldn't remember the name of the hotel. At that moment, we got an emergency call. We ran the call, brought the patient to the hospital. The whole time I'm trying to remember the name of that doggone hotel. Well, we arrive at the hospital and wheel the patient inside. As I'm giving my report to the nurse in the emergency room, I just happen to glance behind the desk, and hanging on the wall is a calendar. And the full-color, large picture on the calendar is, you guessed it, the Hotel del Coronado. Well, I tend to pay attention to these little things, and took this as an invitation from Kate to visit her hotel. So, I reserved one of their smallest, cheapest rooms, and the next time I had a 4-day weekend, I packed up my convertible, drove down the coast from San Francisco to San Diego, arrived at the hotel, went up to the desk to check in, and the clerk says, "Oh, I'm sorry, all of the small, cheap rooms, like the one you had reserved, are booked up." Let me see. Oh, we do have this suite with a balcony overlooking the courtyard in the old section of the hotel. Will that be all right? He said, "I'll give it to you for the same price as the small, cheap, cheesy room you had reserved." Naturally, I say okay, and I'm beginning to think this is going to be a very interesting stay. So, up I go, took a bubble bath, drank a beer out of the room bar. Shouldn't do that, by the way, they're terribly expensive. Jumped on the bed, as is my habit anytime I stay in an expensive hotel. I took a nap and got dressed for dinner. Went down to the bar for a cocktail. The bartender brought all of my drinks. Had dinner in one of the restaurants, and when I asked for my check, the waiter told me that a gentleman who had been seated across the room had paid the check. The rest of the visit was uneventful, no apparitions, no funky stuff, until the stay at the hotel never showed up on my credit card bill. Now, I'm a relatively honest person, and under normal circumstances, I probably would have called the Hotel del Coronado, told them about their oversight. However, when viewed with everything else that occurred, the calendar, the upgrade, the free drinks, the free dinner, it was rather apparent to me that I had indeed been a guest, Kate's guest, at the Hotel del Coronado. She is a fine hostess, and I hope to return one of these days. And I have, of course, many more like this. And if any of you have a particularly good ghost story, we're going to do two things. One, we are going to tell ghost stories from those of you who call on the call-in lines. And we are going to also invite you, rather than sending in a fax with your ghost story, if you have a particularly good one, send me a fax with your phone number, and I will call you. Open. So wherever you are in the world, it doesn't matter where you are in the world, if you have a ghost story, and I do have one sent to me here from Belgium. I've got another one from South Africa. All lines, all night, all ghost stories. Here we go. First time caller line, you're on the air. Good morning.
Good morning. This is Carrie calling from Eugene, Oregon.
Hello, Kay. How are you? You're going to have to get good and close to the phone because you're not too loud.
How's this?
That's better.
All right. Well, my boyfriend's brother, he moved into this house in Providence, Rhode Island. And come to find out, it used to be a funeral home. And, they have the places, in the basement where, they burn the bodies and did all that crazy stuff.
Cremation.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And now he feels like there's a ghost there. Things will be missing, things you don't misplace, like toothpaste, cutting board, just gone.
Gone.
And one time, his roommate, they were just sitting there drinking coffee. His roommate went into his room because he finished his cup, and he came back out, and it was completely filled hot. Jason didn't get it for him or anything. And it wasn't even made right how he likes it. And he says sometimes, you know, like a door will slam. One time he actually had to leave because he was so scared because there was like rubbing all on the walls and clanging noises.
You know, let me tell you a little story back now.
Okay.
I saw a movie the other night. I can't recall the name of it, unfortunately. Now a million people will send it to me. But it was about a man who went to work in a morgue.
Uh-huh.
And he was a guard in the morgue. Mm-hmm. And he would have his little guard desk, and he'd have his little, you know, guards have keys, and they have to make the rounds and turn the key so that the owner knows they really made their assigned rounds at night. And he had a desk and a workstation when he wasn't having to make his rounds. And there was this red light behind him. And in the morgue, they would have the bodies all lined up on these cots covered with sheets in a what's called a cold room. Mm-hmm. But above each body, there was a pull cord. You know, a cord you could pull.
Just in case.
Just in case. And should somebody pull that cord, it would obviously mean to the guy sitting at the desk that one of the bodies in the morgue had reanimated, not unheard of. And I'm not going to tell you any more than that, but I will tell you, it went off.
Wow.
Okay?
Yeah, it's pretty weird. And
well,
is there like, who would you go about calling? Say if you wanted to have like a specialist come in there and see, you know, what was going on. Any ideas? Oh, yes.
I have many people. In fact, the guest I'm going to have on this coming Monday night might be exactly the person you're looking for.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy because, you know,
his name now, listen to me, is Jerome Clark, and he wrote a book called Unexplained, Strange Sightings, Incredible Occurrences, and Puzzling Physical Phenomena. Now, he'll be here Monday night, Tuesday morning next week. Okay. Somebody like that is the kind of person you need. Okay?
Definitely. Thanks so much for your help.
You bet. Take care, and good luck. Wildcard line, you're on the air.
Yes, Art, this is Greg from El Cajon, California.
Hi, Greg.
How are you, Art?
Just fine.
I have a good one for you.
Okay.
Do I have about 4 or 5 minutes?
You do.
Excellent. My wife's mother had died back in February, actually on February 13th of this year. And prior to her death, my wife and children and I had stayed with her overnight in that house on many occasions.
Sure.
Just a normal home, nothing strange, very comfortable there, no problems whatsoever.
You would just be visiting her and stay the night?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Taking up the house at the time of her death went into probate. And, of course, my wife and her siblings not wanting to leave the house empty, of course, because of vandals and that sort of thing. My wife and our 2 daughters and our unborn son moved into that empty house on March 1st of this year.
Makes sense.
Shortly after, my family and I took occupancy of the home. Certain events started to take place.
Like what?
Well, just to paraphrase you also, at this time, on around March 10th, we adopted a German Shepherd Beagle mix that it made my wife feel a lot better, of course, because I worked late at night, sometimes till 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning.
Like me.
Yeah, there you go. And it gave her a peace of mind because the house was out in the country. Okay.
Like me.
Yes, sir. And within the first 2 weeks that we took up residence in my wife's deceased mother's home, my wife would relate to me from time to time that she felt as she was being watched intensely. I myself, at the time being a complete skeptic, dismissed the information as an overactive imagination, which I probably should not have. That was my belief until the evening of March 16th, 1998, when my eyes were widely opened. On that evening, I was having dinner with my wife and children, and my sister-in-law and her 2 children, teenage children, were over to the house for dinner, just, a few weeks after moving into the house. Everyone had left, but my wife and I, And I was sitting in a position in the dining room, at the dining room table area, that allowed me to look all the way down the hallway into one of 3 bedrooms, which was my youngest daughter's at the time.
Sure.
At that point, I saw something that is so hard for me to describe. It was an aura of what seemed to be a woman's form, with of what seemed to be energy around.
In other words, indistinct, kind of a foggy light aura.
Yes, sir.
All right.
And it definitely was. It seemed to be the shape of a woman to me.
Mm-hmm.
I was so motionless and locked into what was happening at the time that I almost lost relative consciousness of what or where I was, except for what was going on in that room. My wife was sitting over to the right of me and asked me what I had seen, and I described it to her, and she said something to the effect of, "You too?"
You too?
Yeah.
You mean she saw it as well?
She had seen and felt things before me, and yet had never, over that period of time, that 2-week period since we'd moved in there.
Can you hang on through the break?
Absolutely, Art.
Stay right where you are. Well, back to the gentleman who saw the apparition down the hall in the bedroom and then turned to his wife, and his wife saw it too, right, sir?
Yes, she had seen it, but it was at a different time.
And so then what? I mean, did you sit there and compare notes with her, or what?
Well, the hair was standing up on the back of my neck, Art.
I'm sure it was.
And I didn't know what to think. I just moved my wife and my children into a house, and I didn't know how long I was going to be there.
Did you think about getting out?
You know, at that point, I really didn't know.
You know what? I actually, it's so easy to say, man, I'd be out of there like a shot. But the fact of the matter is, there are financial considerations, there are physical considerations. You have a wife, you have children, you have a lot of furniture, you've moved into a house. So you don't just immediately make a decision to split. Let me tell you, Art, the rest of my notes that I have here for you that I compiled today, you're going to think more and more of why we didn't actually get out. On or around March 22nd, I was alone in the house. And my wife had left with her sister, and my children, they went over visiting for the day. Mm-hmm. It was around the noon hour. I was preparing to leave for work. I'd just come out of the restroom that adjoined our master bedroom. Mm-hmm. Bear in mind, our bedroom used to be my deceased mother-in-law's bedroom. Oh.
In a fairly quick instance, as I looked over my right shoulder, and I can see this as plainly as the day that, in my mind, is the day that I did see it, in just a few seconds' time, I saw my deceased mother-in-law leaning over the dresser area where her dresser used to be in her room. Mm-hmm. And it appeared as if she was leaning over to place something down.
This time she was of more form?
Yes.
Uh-huh.
Shortly thereafter, that situation, an interesting yet strange phenomenon began to occur. My deceased mother-in-law there was a beautiful type plush white carpet, very white carpet in her home. Mm-hmm. It was throughout the home. There was no variance throughout any of the rooms whatsoever, and I'm just giving the details so the listeners understand what I'm about to say. One morning, I would believe it was the end of March, 1st of April, my wife said, "Honey, come look at this." And I said, "Well, when you walk barefoot on the carpet, Art, it would leave almost a type of imprint of your foot."
I understand exactly what you're saying, yes.
And so we experimented a little bit. This was not my wife's footprint, Art. It wasn't my footprint. And it was much too large to be either of my daughters.
Sure.
So we just stood there looking down, and my wife said, "I know it's my mother's. I know it's my mother's footprint, and she lived with her mother until she married me, until she was, 19 years of age." Mm-hmm. She felt that, also too, from that time on, that the constant set of eyes or being watched was all the more ever present. Our dog, on many occasions, Art, would stand up and stare across the house into our bedroom, whining, staring.
I'm going to ask, it's an embarrassing question. You don't have to answer this, but if it was your wife's mother?
Yes, sir.
Haunting the house. Present in the house. Didn't that kind of take the edge off moments of intimacy for your wife?
Well, at that time, Art, and like that is a personal question. My wife was only about 3 months from delivering our son.
I see. You say no more. That's
she
fine.
Was very pregnant.
Otherwise, I can imagine there would be a problem.
I can understand what you're saying, and I do agree to that with that.
Mom, if you're listening, you know what I mean.
Okay. In the summer months, another factor started to come into play, and this is one when I was writing it earlier this evening. I guess I'm listing this in as much of a chronological order as I can.
Sure.
I was reluctant to discuss this, and the only reason I am discussing it right now is after we'd moved out and we're living where we're living now, I asked my wife if she, I didn't want her to think I was nuts. So I asked her, and she looked at me and said, yes, I had too, and this is the next part of the story. At night in my wife and I's bedroom, which of course was my deceased mother-in-law's, at times my vision in the dark, I would lay awake at times and it would start to blur. Eerie, if not demonic type faces would appear in the dark room. They would come, it was very sharp to me, and they would fade out slowly.
That would be enough for me.
And the thing that bothered me about this, Art, was if this was my mother, it wasn't that obviously to me was not my mother-in-law.
Obviously. Her
appearance was not as foreboding as this particular situation. And that's when I started thinking, my God, is there a portal or something else that followed?
That's exactly where I was about to go. We've got to wrap this up, but that's exactly where I was going. Is there a clothesline to this, or is that essentially it? Did you get out of there, or what?
Well, at that point, those things were starting to happen at the end of the summer. There were thumping noises on the wall. Many occasions at the noon hour, almost on certain days, frequently the phone would ring. There would never be anybody there. And the one thing that I would like to say, Art, and this is probably of some interest to you, I often wonder at this point if the intrusion, taking that nothing but a appearance by my mother-in-law in the last few recent days to my wife has appeared. There hasn't been anything since we moved to our new home.
Mm-hmm. Well, all right. Listen, thank you so very much. There are two things here. One, it's pretty well known, and I can't explain why. Maybe you can. Maybe one of you can. Why a spirit apparently trapped on Earth, or one that has not yet moved on, remains essentially in the same place, the same house, same geography, the same place. Why? Why? And the second thing that I would draw from that is, he said it himself. Do you think it might be true that once something has come through or is visible on both sides, depending on how you want to look at it, that in essence a portal has opened, allowing not just the spirit of his mother-in-law, but more to come through? That's worth some thought. On our international line, you are on the air. Good morning to you.
Hi, this is Mark from Auckland, New Zealand.
Auckland, New Zealand. Yes, sir. Welcome to the program.
Yes, I have a bit of an unusual ghost story to tell.
All right.
I frequently have out-of-body experiences, and one time I managed to catch a glimpse of my own ghost.
What? What?
Yes.
Now, if anything would stop me from having OBEs, assuming I could have them at will, that would do it. You saw your own ghost.
Yes, well, people who frequently have out-of-body experiences will know that you can sometimes get stuck in your corporeal body or physical body. this frequently happens to me, and this one time, a part of me separated while my vision remained in my body, my physical body, and I saw this watery...
Oh, my. In other words, you saw your spiritual self in a visual way, with the vision from your own body, leaving your body?
Yeah, I saw it walking across the room. Well, I saw myself walking across the room. It was sort of like a third-person perspective.
Did that stop you from doing that?
No, that I've had more hair-raising experiences than that. That was unusual, though. But no, it hasn't stopped me.
It would have stopped me cold. All right, my friend, thank you. That's from New Zealand. That would have stopped me cold. To have the physical vision remain in a somewhat active mind, and to see your spirit leave your own body, and to realize that your essentially dead, spiritless body is observing its own spirit leaving. No, thank you. East of the Rockies, you're on the air. Good morning.
Good morning.
Hello, where are you?
I'm in Austin.
Austin, Texas. All right.
And so it's kind of secondhand because it's something my mother told me happened before I was born.
It's all right. What is your name?
Sarah.
Sarah. Okay, Sarah.
Okay. She was living in Salem, Massachusetts with my father. They'd gotten married recently.
Right.
And in the house they were living, I think it was probably an old house, these things started happening. First, the cats started acting weird. Like, they'd be running across the room, and all of a sudden they'd stop like there was a wall in front of them.
Yes, I've seen cats do that many times. They see things we don't.
Yep. And once or twice she said she found them in shut dresser drawers.
Cats?
Yes. They'd have gotten inside the drawer and it was shut behind them.
Yes.
She was alone in the apartment. And once the bathroom door was stuck. And she wasn't sure why it was stuck. She kept trying to get it open. My father wasn't home, so she had to get a neighbor to help her open it. And it took him a lot of work to get it open. And when they got it open, it was like 20 degrees colder in the bathroom than it had been anywhere else in the house.
Really?
Yes. And then my father would start, he would say he felt a hand on the back of his neck, but my mother was across the room or in a different room and there was no one else in the house.
Mm-hmm.
And then the last thing that happened, my mom said this was the last thing that happened, and after that nothing ever happened. My father came in the room where she was, and he was like all white and shaking, and told her that he had been walking up the stairs, and he saw this woman walking down the stairs towards him, and that she was wearing like old-fashioned clothes. That was all they told me. I didn't get any more detail than that.
Yes.
She was walking towards him, and then when they passed each other on the stairs, he felt like totally cold all the way through, and then she vanished, and then they never saw anything else again.
I sure do appreciate the story.
I thought you'd want to hear it.
Oh, you're right. Thank you. I wonder what it is about the presence of an entity that causes temperatures to drop. And by the way, I might add, measurably drop. I have interviewed any number of ghost researchers, and it's about half and half. Some say they're unable to measure the temperature drop, but they can certainly feel it. The other half say they have measured up to, as this young lady said, up to 20 degrees and more of difference. Sometimes right down to freezing. She mentioned cats and brings to mind the following. Again from Canada. Canada must be a very haunted place. Where I live, we have woods by our house, about 7/10 of a kilometer by 6/10 of a kilometer in size. And in this woods is a man some time ago who hung himself, actually 70 years ago, when his wife had died at an early age. 70 years ago, the land that everyone is now living on was farmland. And ever since, those woods have been left alone. The only thing about the man was he was a cat lover. He had about 4 cats. And I can tell you there is something about those woods that is pretty freaky now. Every now and then, even now, There is a gathering of cats in the woods. No lie, I've seen them. They just sit around, 10 to 20 of them. Tell you what I'll do. I'll try and get a picture of it next time it happens and send it to you. I believe the cats are gathering in this man's name. West of the Rockies, you're on the air. Hello.
Aloha, Art. This is Mike calling from Kihei, Maui, Hawaii.
Hello, Mike. How are you?
I'm fine, thanks. Actually, I told you this briefly a few years ago. My wife Bonnie and I had gone over to Kauai pre-Iniki, the year before Iniki hit.
Oh, the big terrible hurricane, yes.
It was a nasty one. We stayed at an older, fairly flat resort called the Coco Palms. It was nice. We had driven around the day. We went back to the hotel, pretty tired. And we went to bed after listening to the little band downstairs. Sometime in the night, I woke up. I was on my back in the bed, and something fairly large, kind of glowing, was at the foot of the bed.
Bad. It
was human-shaped, and it scared the bejesus out of me, to the point where I was petrified and could not move.
Describe it more than that. Human-shaped. Sort of a mist, you mean, or try and do a little bit better.
Well, at least 7 feet tall. If it was a person, it probably would have weighed several hundred pounds.
Oh, so this is very large.
Like 250, 300 pounds.
All right.
The perception I got was that it was kind of glowing like a glow stick. You know those green glow sticks you crack at night?
Yes.
Okay, well, it scared me so bad, all I did was close my eyes. Whatever it is, it's going to go away. I'm closing my eyes. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
Woke up in the morning. My wife and I finished our time on Kauai, went to Oahu, and driving from the airport over the Poly to the other side,
mm-hmm.
I told her on the Poly, I said, you know what, babe? Last night, there was something in our room. And she turned to me, and the chicken skin started. That's when you get the goosebumps.
So they call it in Hawaii chicken skin.
She freaked out with her big Hawaiian eyes and looked at me and said, I saw it too.
Hmm.
And I said, well, what would you see? Apparently she must have seen a little more than I did, and or perceived more than I did.
Maybe she didn't close her eyes.
I sure did. My wife says that she saw a very large Hawaiian float in through the window and stand at the foot of our bed, and it was, to her, she said, it was very pissed off.
Mm.
It was
a pissed off Hawaiian.
A pissed off Hawaiian. Now, I'm white. My wife's almost pure Hawaiian. I'm wondering, is this a Hawaiian ghost looking down and seeing a local woman with a white man?
I hear you.
Angry.
I hear you.
That was very perturbing, and we both had chicken skin for quite some time that evening. One more recently, unfortunately, my wife's lovely father, who lives over in Waimea on the Big Island,
yes,
was diagnosed with a terminal cancer around May this year. And he decided that he would prefer not to fight it and would go with hospice care and prefer to live out his remaining time in the living room at home. And with a lot of the homes here in Hawaii, we have day beds in the living room.
No, I understand that. I think I would make the same choice.
So, Shem, that's his name, you know, her dad, spent out his remaining time in the living room on the beautiful hospice bed provided. Mom lovingly cared for him, and it was wonderful because he had time and all of us family could come by and say aloha. Well, we're staying there, and he has not yet passed away, and the only room left because of all of the ohana, or family over, is Mom and Dad's room, which they really don't sleep in too much anyway because they sleep in the living room. Anyway, Dad is still alive, but getting near the end. This was within 3 days of him passing on.
Mm-hmm.
My wife and I go to bed about 11 o'clock at night in the parents' bed. I'm sleeping on my stomach, and something gives me a finger jab poke through the mattress into my ribs. It felt like it came up about 2 inches.
Yes?
It woke me up, scared the hell out of me, and I said, Bonnie! She goes, what? There was something poke me in the ribs. And I rolled over onto my back, and she goes, are you okay? I go, yeah, but what was that? She goes, I don't know. And then something, the pressure of someone sitting down on my legs. And I said,
on your legs?
On my legs. I said, and I'm getting chicken skin now. I'm freaking out remembering. I said, babe, it's sitting on my legs. What am I going to do? She says, it's okay. It's all right. It's probably just Dad, his spirit, coming into the room saying, you're in our bed. I said, well, he's not dead yet. She says, I know, but this is his house, and he can move around when he wants.
Sure.
I said, babe, can I please sleep in another room? I can't handle this. It's too much. She said, okay. So we switched with her sister. And Dad passed on shortly after that.
Uh-huh.
We have not yet, myself, she's returned to visit Mom twice. I'm a little leery about visiting.
Why do you think the state of Hawaii is such a haunted state?
I don't know.
It is, though. I've had guests on who have told story after story like the ones like the ones you just told. Hawaii is a very, very haunted set of islands. There's no question about it.
You and your wife, well, your wife's from Oahu, right?
That's correct.
Thank you for listening, Art. I hope your audience keeps in mind that the loved ones are close by.
All right. Take care, sir. Aloha. All right, that's it. Tonight, all we're doing, as you can already tell, are ghost stories. Real ghost stories. And it's so easy to do. You know why? Because there are so many of them. Sorry about that. I get caught up in the stories, and it just happens. Here is a gentleman who works, or did work, actually. He did the same thing I did in a 911 dispatch center. I guess fire dispatch center. Where are you, sir?
I'm in Birch Bay, Washington.
Welcome to the program.
Well, thank you, Art.
You're about to tell me that you have had ghosts call 911?
In a way, yeah. It was basically to, it would be well over 100-year-old emergency, I would say, of a dying woman in a small Mexican village on the banks of the Santa Ana River.
My God. 100-year-old emergency.
Mm-hmm. Middle 1800s, 1864 to be exact. So it's a time travel story as well as a ghost story.
I guess it is, huh? Well, it may be that where the spirits are, there is no time as we quite exactly understand it or think we do.
Oh, sure. And, if they have a story to tell, it can wait for eternity if it has to.
Well, apparently one did, at least part way.
Well, let me tell you a little bit about how this started. I had just started at this fire communications center. It was on the banks of the Santa Ana River. This was in 1984.
Okay.
And basically it was a 24-hour operation. We were on a 24-hour shift, so we would sleep and eat and pretty much live there for an entire day and then be relieved by the relief crew and work that type of schedule. So normally my shift would end at 8 p.m. From 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. I would get to sleep from 8 p.m. till 1 a.m. and then go back on the board till 4 in the morning.
Gotcha.
And that way we could at least get a couple hours of uninterrupted sleep.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I thought the strangest thing was that none of the dispatchers would sleep in the dormitory, which struck me as really odd. They all seemed afraid of the place. And the dispatch personality, they're usually guys that are rock-solid individuals.
Oh, yes.
They're pretty fearless people, basically. But we'd have guys sleeping in the hallways or bedding down in the lounge, that type of thing. Well, I'd been on for about a week, and I got woken up in the morning by the intercom saying that, I could sleep till noon because I was going to have to work a 12-hour overtime shift. Someone had called in sick, and I was basically up for it. Well, about a half hour later, and usually these things happen when you're dead asleep, I felt something lay across my legs, and there was a groan like somebody going, when they're stretching.
Yes.
And I woke up and I saw this kind of it wasn't a mist, it was almost like a gelatinous fog breaking above my head, and the room was pitch black dark, which was really a strange thing. So anyway, I stumbled out in the dispatch center and asked the people if, what the heck was going on and, why are they playing games? And they all gave a conspiratorial look to each other and said, go back to bed, we'll tell you about the ghost later, right? So I slept real good after that.
Yeah, right.
Well, anyway, it was uneventful. I came back for the next shift, and that's when the weirdness happened. 1 in the morning, just a little bit before 1 in the morning, I went into the strangest dream I've ever had. I was walking along the banks of the Santa Ana River, and I knew it was 1864. I just knew it. And I thought, this is the strangest dream. For one thing, I'm here. I can feel the wind on my skin. It was just barely blowing. I could hear the leaves rustling. I could feel the sand crunch underneath my feet along the banks of this river.
Right.
And I thought, wow, this is really interesting. I know where I'm at. I'm right by the fire dispatch center, but the city's gone. There's nothing here, and, where are all the children and the animals?
You mean you were literally seeing the same geography minus the buildings and the people?
Except for, differences, the variations of a river as it changes over the year, but my internal radar and compass told me I was exactly at the fire dispatch center. I was actually walking up to it, approaching northbound along the banks of the Santa Ana River. And I saw this small house.
Yes.
Kind of like an adobe little house like you would see, part of a rancho or a very small village. And this woman appeared in the door. And she was what you would call, probably about a 20-year-old, really beautiful senorita. She was just gorgeous with long flowing hair and a smile that would melt your heart. This was like, wow, what's going on? Anyway, she beckoned to me to come to the door. And as soon as my foot hit the threshold of this little house, I was kind of transported into her, if you know what I mean. It's like she melded with me, for want of a better word. We were like one person.
Spock would say mind meld, yes.
Almost like that, but not quite as as trite as you would expect something on Star Trek. This was like a total 2 bodies and 2 souls instantly mingling together.
Wow.
And it was an instant feeling of like warmth and love and a tremendous sexual rush, which later on I found out that happens sometimes. Anyway, she kind of separated from me and beckoned me into the house, and I went in there, and she showed me this old woman laying on a bed. And prior to entering the fire service, I'd been an ambulance driver in L.A., and you pretty much know when a person's ready to breathe their last, and this woman was definitely, she was what they call chain stoking, that, final type of breathing. And she had on a kind of like a floral print shift dress.
Yes.
And this girl started to tell me that, she was the last of the small village, and she had stayed there and taken care of all the people that were sick, and they had a drought and a famine, and some type of terrible disease had come through the community and killed a lot of people. And basically everybody just packed up and went upriver to try to find a better place to live, took all the children, healthy people, and animals, and they all just split.
Makes sense, yeah.
And she was the last one, taking care of the last person alive that could not make the trip. Well, to make a long story shorter, she basically started telling me how all these people died. And this is when the dream got really bad. It was like I was trapped in this place. If you know, you obviously know the personality of a dispatcher that's fully in control of his environment.
I certainly do.
You are the savior of the city. Otherwise, you'll never make it. Anyway, it was the first time in my career that I'd ever felt totally trapped and scared and wanting to just get up and run from the dispatch center, even though, I wasn't there, but I was.
Right.
All these faces started coming at me. They were all like Mexican villagers, which is what lived in that part of California at the time. And as each face came at me, I died with them. And they were talking to me. And one after another. It must have been 100 faces just coming. Literally face to face with me. And I felt the pain of their death.
I take it you didn't sleep in there again.
Oh, I did. I was not going to let this... I was going to get to the bottom of what the heck was going on with this thing. Anyway, there was I used to hate it when 1 o'clock would roll along and a dispatcher's voice would come on the speaker and say, get out of the sack, it's time to hit the board. Well, the dispatcher that was handling the shift came on and he pulled me out of my sleep. Anyway, I stumbled into the communications center, didn't even put on my uniform. I was drenched in sweat. I had this big lump in my throat. These tears were just like pouring down my face. And he looked at me and said, "What in the heck happened to you?" So I told him, "I think I just got visited by a ghost." And that's when he finally said, "Oh, these darn ghosts, you know, it's like they've been banging on the switchboard all night. I've had this creepy feeling like something's standing here watching me, and I can't take this anymore. I'm going to go sleep in the lounge. I'm not sleeping in that dorm anymore." So I figured, okay, well, you know, there is something here. It's not just me in his bed. Like something was crushing his chest. And he would talk in Spanish, and the other dispatchers would say, "Yeah, you know, when this guy's sleeping, he starts speaking Spanish, and that's when he's having these nightmares."
Well, it's obvious to me, sir. Thank you very much for your call and your story. It's obvious to me what was occurring. I, too, worked in a 911 dispatch center in Monterey County. And on a daily basis, even an hourly basis, you deal with life and death. Actually, I found it to be too much, and I spent a year at it and bailed out. But you deal with life and death. I'm the kind of person that takes my work home with me. And so it was not the job for me. But a place of haunting? Oh, yes, of course. Place of crisis, a place where death is documented nearly on an hourly basis, sometimes more. Yes. Yes. On my first-time caller line, you're on the air. Hello.
Hi, Art.
Hi there. Where are you?
Paul from London, Ontario, Canada.
London, Ontario. Haunted Canada. Yes, sir.
Yes, and actually we are pretty haunted. Actually, the one I've got happened when I was about 8 years old. We were a bunch of us sitting around, messing around, and the guys I was with decided to hold a séance. And we were sitting in my friend's basement, and...
You decided to hold a séance?
Well, yeah, you know, you're
right. So that's like, you're really inviting it.
Well, yeah, that's what I like. I didn't take part. I sat off in the corner going, no, this isn't for me.
Uh-huh.
Besides, I didn't really believe in that stuff at the time. After that, I really changed. Halfway through the séance, I kept hearing strange noises, and we were sitting in his basement, and they just kept going, shh, stop making noises. And I was like, well, it's not me. They're like, yeah, sure, just shut up. We're trying to get a hold of this ghost. And all of a sudden, something made me look off in the corner. He had an old TV that his dad was going to throw out sitting in the corner. Well, when I looked, I noticed it started to glow.
Mm.
And after a few minutes, it just exploded.
The television exploded?
Yes. The whole screen blew out, and what did it for me was the fact it was unplugged. Like the thing is, the TV was unplugged. When I looked on top of it, I saw other people have called in before about it, seeing the dark man.
The dark man?
Yes. I saw a dark... I could tell it was a man. He was sitting cross-legged on the TV, wearing a long coat. He just looked at me, smiled, nodded, stood up, and disappeared.
I'd be out of there so fast.
Well, the thing is, no one else saw it but me. They
Well, I mean, yeah, but what about the television? You said the television...
Oh, they all saw the TV explode. His mom came downstairs yelling what happened, and we were just, nothing. Like, I couldn't tell her, well, there was someone on top of the TV made it blow up.
Mm-hmm. First of all, a television, under no circumstance, sitting there, sedentary, not plugged in, televisions do not explode, period.
Oh, I know that.
Even plugged in ones. That'd be it for me.
Well, the thing is, like, for me, you'd think you'd be scared, but I was just looking at it going, okay, that was odd. And, I mean, since that day, I've seen the same dark man every so often out of the corner of my eye, or it's almost like he's watching me.
Maybe he's waiting for you.
Well, that's what I think, because, like, ever since then, I've seen him, and if I don't see him, I'll hear him call my name.
Yes.
And the thing is, it's loud and clear. Other people have heard it, and we can be in an empty hallway, and we'll hear my name clear.
Maybe one day when he calls your name, you will go with him.
Oh, that's what I thought. And the thing is, though, like I said, I'm not afraid of it. It's almost like he's there protecting me for something.
Maybe you should be afraid.
Well, everyone says that, but I don't know. Like I said, it's just something about him doesn't seem to be scary.
Uh-huh.
He just seems to be there. He doesn't seem to be presenting any harm to me.
Uh-huh. I mean, you've got to consider that he's there for a reason.
Oh, that I'm pretty sure of. I mean, it was since that day I've started seeing other ghosts as well, so.
I understand. All right. Well, I appreciate your call. I'm a little hesitant to suggest to you that you may be associating with somebody who is going to take you from where you are now to where you will eventually be. Wildcard line, you're on the air. Hello.
Hello, Art. This is Alan in Pahrump.
Here in Pahrump?
Yes, sir.
Excellent.
Almost neighbors, I guess. Before I start my story, I had to chuckle when I don't remember, I guess it was a letter you read or a fax about someone from Canada and the cat story.
Oh, yes.
You might want to mention to the listeners about the fire we had here last week, and they pulled out, what was it, about 104 cats that were dead out of the home? I don't know if you read that in the newspaper.
Yes, I did.
Yeah, it was pretty gruesome.
Pretty horrible, yes. Pahrump is a strange place in so many ways. Are you outside?
Yes, I am. As a matter of fact, I'm on the porch.
Not mine, I presume.
Well, I'm not exactly sure where you live. No, my wife says I talk loud, and I didn't want to wake the kids up.
Oh, I see. So you're outside, and we're getting a little bit of wind tonight. It looks like we're going to get some rain, huh?
It sprinkled a little bit and chased me in earlier.
Actually, you know, it's kind of a spooky night out here, isn't it?
Yeah, it's overcast. It has been all day, but not quite this bad. Quite this bad.
All right, listen, I'm at a break point, so I'm going to hold you over, and since you're in Pahrump, obviously, there is no charge.
Okay.
So stay right where you are. Or again, out on his porch still?
Yes, I am.
Uh-huh.
After a quick turkey break.
All right, sir, from here in Erie, Pahrump, what have you?
Well, back in 1983, I was a young married father, and I took my wife and little baby. We moved to California to Long Beach. I had a rather low-paying job, and I had an uncle that offered us an apartment in his apartment building if we managed it, so it was for free. It was a little one-bedroom apartment, and we were so poor we didn't own a bed yet, so we had a fold-out couch. So we put the baby in his crib in the one bedroom, and we slept out on the couch until we could get a bed. Every night, usually about 9 or 10 o'clock, the baby would wake up just screaming, hysterical. We'd bring him out, and as soon as we brought him out, he would calm down and go to sleep. And it got to the point for about a month where we wound up having him sleep with us every night. We finally got a bed, excuse me, and switched rooms. We put him out in the front room in his crib, and we slept in the bedroom.
Sure.
I guess it was about a month or so went by. One night I was sleeping, and I started having this weird dream that turned really scary. Now, as I was growing up, there was a period where when I was a young kid, I had scary dreams all the time, and I guess out of necessity, I taught myself to wake up when a dream got too scary. Now, this happened to me. I woke up, I was laying face down on my waterbed, and something had a hand in the middle of my back, and had a hand on the back of my head, and was shoving me down into the waterbed, into the pillow, and I couldn't breathe. So I opened my mouth to talk, to call for help to my wife,
yes,
and whatever it was, it bound my tongue. I couldn't talk. All that was coming out was a bunch of gibberish. And so I was struggling back and forth, and whatever it was incredibly strong and shoving me down into this waterbed. And I figured, well, if I wiggle back and forth enough, I'll wake my wife up. Well, she woke up, and she says, my gosh, what's going on? And she flipped on the light. And as soon as she turned on the light, whatever it was released me. And I looked up at her, and she looked at me, and she says, oh, my gosh, what happened? I feel this. She described that the room felt like it was just filled with hate. And I explained to her what had happened, and it was just, I didn't sleep very much that night.
Oh, thanks a lot. I've got a waterbed, and up until now, I've loved it.
Well,
I can only imagine that was attempted murder.
Well, let me finish the story, and it gets even creepier. We said a couple of quick prayers, and the room still felt creepy. We didn't sleep much that night. I was also working for my uncle, so the next day I told him what had happened, and he kind of scoffed at it. He said, oh, yeah, right. I've never had anyone else complain about living in that apartment. And I said, well, I wonder what happened. And then he got kind of serious for a minute, and he goes, well, there's something I didn't want to tell you. He said, a year before you and your wife moved in, we had a couple that lived there, and the man was a drug dealer, and he wound up getting murdered in that room. Somebody came in and busted in and shot him with a shotgun.
God.
And I said, and you're trying to tell me you don't believe, what I'm telling you, that you think it's just a bunch of mumbo-jumbo. And he really didn't say much after that. And that's basically my story. Up until then, of course, I'd never believed in ghosts. And after that, I've been...
That's enough for me, sir.
I've been converted.
I appreciate the call on the dark, rainy night.
You bet.
Take care. That was attempted murder. That was attempted murder. Can you imagine having that happen to you? A presence that you can't possibly fight, pressing you down into the bed, pressing your tongue so you cannot speak, your head, your back into the bed. No, thank you. Good morning. You're on Ghost to Ghost AM. I'm Art Bell. Where are you, please?
I'm in Tampa, Florida.
Tampa, Florida.
Yeah, I'm listening to you on your net.
Okay.
My story goes back to when I joined the Navy. I joined in 1980 as a nuclear power electrician and got assigned to the USS Enterprise in 1982.
Oh, the Enterprise.
Right. And the biggest nuclear power carrier in the world. She will not fit through the Panama Canal. She has to go all the way around.
I believe that. I went through the Panama Canal myself on a large, cruise liner. And as we went through, we scraped the sides of the ship, so it was that close.
Well, it has to do with ghosts that have been there for quite some time. They've been there for a very long time. The refit took 3 years before I even got to the ship. They took the superstructure off, put a new one on, and I was just getting to the boat as she came out of her refit. And so these guys who assigned watches were telling me, do you want a mid-watch and 5 and 6 switchgear? And I said, I don't know. And they said, well, there's a ghost.
Well, I'm not a Navy guy. 5 and 6 switchgear, what's that?
That's where the 5 and 6 switchgear is where the controls for the ship service turbine generators are for paralleling and taking up and down.
Generators, okay.
Okay. And so I didn't really much believe him, and he gave me a mid-watch. And I stood a mid-watch on 5 and 6 switchgear and heard somebody roaming around in the back room, because what we had in one switchgear, we had our little office where we had our morning meetings, and we had our gear pullers and our electrical equipment in there, and it sounded like someone opening, closing drawers and moving around. And I walk in there, and there's only one way in and out, one door, and you can see it from the switchgear where you're at. And I open the door, and there's nobody in there. And, I thought, well, maybe somebody's messing with me, but there was never anybody in that switchgear. And then I come to find out there was another ghost haunting number 2 and 3 switchgear. And by the way, if there's any listeners who were on the Enterprise who were in EE30, Electrical Engineering Group 30, they can verify this. And 2 and 3 switchgear, there was also a ghost. Now, from what I was told, these guys who were haunting had been vaporized by opening disconnects when they were fully energized. And what that had done is it drew an arc and created a fireball and vaporized him and the switchgear around him. It just vaporized everything it touched. And so these people were instantly turned into gas.
Cinder.
Right. And the 1 and 2 and 3 switchgear was more prevalent. One guy told me, he says, you can't sleep in 2 and 3 switchgear because he'll keep you awake.
This is very common. When people die that way, completely, unexpectedly, instantly, tragically, that's when they seem to remain.
And the thing was, he was like a guardian. You know what I mean? He was making sure that the guys didn't fall asleep on watch, because he'd do something to you. Now, I was just, I was wondering about the 1, 2, and 3 because I hadn't ever seen it, so I decided to play a trick. And I decided to pretend I was nodding off. And it felt like someone grabbed the back of my hair, and yanked my head and jerked it to wake me up. And I was like, man. And that that just, sends a shiver up your spine.
I take it you stayed awake on future watches.
Yes. It was really, really something.
And you're telling me that anybody who was on the Enterprise, EE-30 that time, could verify this?
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Guarantee it. Guarantee it. There's absolutely no doubt. In fact, one guy left his post screaming from 2 and 3 switchgear and said he'd never stand watch there again, ever. And he never told anybody what happened. And he wasn't in electrical engineering group 30. He was a conventional electrician. Sometimes really good conventional electricians, they'd let stand watch on those switchgears. But see, the thing is there was the nuclear electricians and there was the EE-30.
What kind of voltage and current were running through those?
450.
450.
Right.
And tremendous current
ratings of those generators.
Tremendous, I'm sure.
We had 8 turbine generators in all, and there were 4 main machinery rooms and 2 reactors for each. So we had a total of 8 reactors, and each reactor, I believe, was 1 megawatt each. So we were running about 8 megawatts of power when we were churning and burning.
I appreciate. I'm sure you were glad to get off the Enterprise.
Well, you know what? I never really had a problem with them. It didn't really scare me.
Was there any doubt about the fact? Now, you say you sort of pretended to be asleep.
Yeah, I was trying to see if it was real.
Do you think that it could have been your imagination?
Oh, no. Oh, no. When someone comes up to you and grabs your hair and jerks your head, you know it.
You're right.
You know it. I mean, that's something, and it happened to anybody who ever fell asleep in 2 and 3 switchgear. Boom, they get waking up instantly. You could never fall asleep on there while you were on watch.
Appreciate your call, sir.
Yep.
Thank you. Take care. He's right. There would be no mistaking somebody grabbing your hair and yanking your head up, would there? First-time caller line, you're on the air. Good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Bell.
How are you?
I'm sorry?
I said, how are you?
Pretty good. And yourself?
Fine. Where are you?
I'm calling from southern Indiana.
Southern Indiana. Yes, sir.
I'd like to answer your questions first. You had a couple why do ghosts stay in one place? And I think there was something right up about why does the temperature change when there are ghosts around?
Well, I think the last caller was a very good example of a ghost that remained exactly there. And if that one didn't do it for you, I've got one from San Antonio, Texas, that'll curl your hair.
That was fairly scary, but I was wanting to explain to you why ghosts stay there, though. Now, I'm speaking from the philosophical point of a ceremonial magician. I don't know if you know anything about, ceremonial magic or Kabbalah or ritual magic or anything like that.
I know a little bit about it.
Are you familiar with the philosophical elements like earth, air, fire, and water?
I am.
Well, they have spirits associated with those. They're intelligences of sorts that are similar to animals as far as their intellectual level.
Mm-hmm.
But sometimes, elementals can feed off of emotional energy that people put out.
That's right.
And when people pass away, they'll leave their astral shell or astral body behind. And sometimes these elementals can take control of these astral shells. And they'll present themselves as a ghost when, in fact, they're elementals, but they'll take on this form. And, for example, a deceased father or a mother or something, and when this person feels an emotional attachment to this image they see, that elemental can draw energy from that individual.
Mm-hmm.
That's one reason why ghosts stay around like that.
So, in other words, they produce one of the greatest emotions a human can have, mortal fear, and then feed from it.
Yeah, fear, love, any kind of emotion, anger, hate, anything, elementals can feed from that. Not all elementals will do that, though. There has to be something that's learned from them, kind of trained. Like I said, they have the intelligence of animals. So,
mm-hmm.
But that also has to do with the temperature change in the room. Because, for example, a water elemental could produce a cool temperature in a room.
But why would a spirit be bound like the spirit on the Enterprise or the spirits to, in effect, stand guard? Now, I'm going to tell you a very quick story, very much like it. I think a lot of the audience may have heard this or perhaps not, but it is a true story, believe it. In San Antonio, Texas, a school bus full of children stalled on a train track. A train hit it broadside, killed all the children, or the majority of the children on the bus. A horrible tragedy in the San Antonio area. And ever since, at that particular intersection, if a car stalls, in fact, people go and test it. They actually take their car and they drive onto these train tracks and stop and put the car in neutral, and the car is always pushed or seemingly moves by itself off the tracks and onto the road on the other side into safety. Now, they have tested this. They have taken cars and put them on the tracks with talcum powder on the back of the car.
Actually, I have heard of this, Mr. Bill.
This true story. And when the car reaches the other side of the tracks, there are children's handprints to be found in the talcum powder. And this can be done repeatedly. It'll occur again and again and again. And the story from the Enterprise reminded me of that.
See, something like that may work on the same lines that a talisman may work. Now, a talisman, I don't know if you're familiar with how talismans operate, but when a talisman is created, it creates a vortex of energy that draws things to it. So, like if you create a talisman to say bring money into your life, or love, or whatever else you make the talisman for, it creates a magnetic attraction to that. Now, it's curious that there were several people involved in the accident. When there were quite a few people together and an accident like this occurs, there's a great amount of fear for a split instant before they're killed that goes through their minds. Now, this would be imprinted on the material that was around them at the time, so that could work very similar. It could create
imprinted on the material.
Yeah, like, for example, the land around it, the specific area where the accident happened, the railroad tracks.
Yes.
As a matter of fact, iron is a very good conductor for etheric energies like that.
Let me tell you a little story, because we're out of time, but you mentioned it. Scientists are now believing that material things, wood, glass, crystal, in fact, most material objects carry memories, and scientists are actually getting to the point where they can extract these memories, kind of like a video show, kind of like if that motel bed could tell a story. But I'm very serious about that. Material things that soon may be able to relate what has happened around them. Here we go, and I think we're going down to San Diego, California, and we're going to hear from a police officer named Steve. Steve, are you there?
Yes, sir, I am. On this dark and stormy night.
Yes, the bad weather, the eerie weather is sweeping up through your state toward us very quickly indeed. Steve, you are a member of San Diego PD?
Yes, I am. 12 years.
12 years?
Yeah.
How long ago did this occur?
This actually happened about 12 years ago. I was just out of the academy, and I was assigned to a field training officer, and we go through a couple phases of that. And I was working in the southeast area of San Diego, which at that time was a pretty high-activity area, a lot of crime. And the guy I got assigned with had been on almost 30 years and was pretty much the classic grizzled and beaten veteran.
So it's kind of like the rookie and the old warrior.
Yeah, basically the new blood and the crusty old guy. And we were driving down one of the boulevards down at about 3 in the morning, and as we approached the intersection in a residential area, we saw a male standing on the corner, and as we passed him, he appeared to be bleeding profusely from the head and from the face, and just looked like he'd just been stabbed several times. And as we passed by, we both looked at each other and said, "Hey, did you see that?" And I said, "Yeah." And I was driving at the time. I flipped the car around real quick and drove back, and we both got out of the car, and we couldn't find him. He was gone. And then this happened over a period of probably maybe 3 to 5 seconds in the time it took me to put on the brakes and spin the car around and drive back. And
he was gone that fast.
He was gone that fast. And we got out of the car, and we checked up and down the street, and there was no blood trails. There was absolutely nothing that ever indicated he was there. And we got back in the car, and we sat there quietly for a moment, and we looked at each other, and we asked each other again. We said, "Hey, did you see this guy? I mean, he had to have been there, right?" And we both confirmed that we both saw him, and we pretty much decided not to tell anybody after that. But I was pretty convinced that that's what we saw. We were thinking maybe it was a recent murder victim or something that may have again been restless or something. And
did you write a report up?
Oh no, no. We just we just talked about it with each other, and I don't think we let it go out of the car at that time. It was just from that point on, it really was something that I thought about occasionally, and convinced me that certainly there's something out there that we're just not aware of.
Boy, do I appreciate the story, Steve.
Yeah, you betcha.
Thank you, my friend.
Thank you, sir. Good night.
Take care. San Diego police officer. Convinced me there's something out there. That's right. There is something out there. Something we don't understand, we may never understand, but you can be sure it's out there. As I keep saying, there are probably as many stories out there as there are all of you. And you don't really get them until you invite them, and you've got to invite them in a certain way. You can't invite them and ridicule them. You can only invite people to share once they become aware that others have seen some of the same things that they have seen. And then the outpouring is hard to stop. First time caller line, you're on the air. Hi.
Hi, Art. This is Mike from Sacramento.
Hello, Mike.
How are you? My story starts, I'm a stuntman, and I do a lot of traveling around the country, and I was in Coral Gable, Florida, and there's a big hotel there called the Coral Gable that used to be Al Capone's, hangout. And so I went down there to do a film with a couple of buddies of mine, and as I walked into the hotel, it's this huge palatial hotel that, like a huge mansion.
Was it a movie I would remember?
Bad Boys.
Bad Boys.
With Will Smith.
I think I do recall that, yes.
Yeah, I've been in a lot of films. And I've come across a lot of ghosts, too, but this one was the scariest one that's ever happened to me. And so I walked through the door, and I was with my friend Richard, and I turned to him and I said, "This place is haunted, man. This place is haunted." He goes, "Okay." I said, "Did you feel that when I walked through the door? It's like a cold wind." Now, this place is huge. It's not little. It's massive. And so we got assigned to our room, and I was the only stuntman that was on the 5th floor. And so I went to bed early because I had an early call that morning. And so around 11:30, I hear a knock at my door. I get up, look out, and there's nobody there. No, one of the guys is playing a joke on me, right? So I lay back down, start to go to sleep, and I start feeling my covers being pulled off me. Right? And I said, and I looked down, and I thought someone snuck in, right? So, okay, whatever. Knock at the door again. Go to the door, nobody's there. Now I'm getting kind of irritated, and I'm hearing like a party going on down the hallway, and it's like noise. I'm trying to get to sleep. I got a 4:30 call. I'm getting real agitated. So I lay back down again, cover myself up. The covers start pulling off me again, and I'm saying, someone's short-sheeting me or something here, right?
Right.
I get up, door knocks again, open up, and there's a guy at the end of the hallway wearing a tuxedo and a red carnation with his hair slicked back. And he looks kind of odd because it looks like a period suit.
Yes,
sir. 1920 period.
Yes, sir.
And I looked at the guy and said, "Hey, bud, I'm trying to get some sleep. I got to go to work tomorrow. Could you just knock it off? It's not funny." And he kind of laughed and turned and walked down the hallway. So I shut my door, and all night long, party. I called downstairs and I said, "Look, you know what? I'm going to have to change rooms. This floor is way too noisy." And she says, "Oh, you're on the 5th floor." I went, "Yeah." And she said, "Okay." So I hang up, go to sleep, and I didn't sleep much that night. And I get up the next morning, and I go down to the lobby, and there's a historical society booth right there.
Yes.
And I said, "Excuse me," I said, "is this place haunted?" And she started laughing. She says, "Oh, this is one of the most haunted places in North America." And I'm going, "Oh, thanks." She says, "You weren't staying on the 5th floor, were you?" I said, "Yeah." She said, "Well, that was where the morgue used to be during World War II, it was converted into a hospital, and that was the morgue.
Oh, my.
And I went, well, great. So immediately I went to the front desk and I said, I'd like to be moved off the 5th floor.
That's what I would have done.
It was pretty, and even talking about it gives me the heebie-jeebies. Can I tell you one more quick story?
Very quickly, yes.
Okay, I was at Rosemary Clooney's house, and the house used to belong to Russ Columbo. And Russ Columbo was a crooner during the 20s. He's like kind of a predecessor to Bing Crosby.
Yes, sir.
And so I went into their bathroom. I didn't know their house was haunted at the time. I went into their bathroom, and I started going to the bathroom, and some guy behind me goes, "Hey, buddy, what do you think you're doing?" And I jumped literally out of the bathroom, zipping myself up and running into the front room, going, "Oh my God, there's a guy in your bathroom."
You're probably not needing the bathroom.
No. That was like my friend Miguel, who's Rosemary's son, started laughing. He goes, "Oh, that was Russ Columbo." He goes, "He's always playing tricks in the house. He's been dead. He got shot in the head here."
Oof. So wow, oh my, shot in the head.
Yeah, he got hit by accident. It was one of those fake cannons that you buy through mail order or whatever, and someone had put a BB or a marble inside it, and when it was set off, it ricocheted around the room and hit him in the head.
All right, I appreciate the call, sir. Thank you.
Okay.
Take care. Wildcard line, you're on the air. Good morning.
Good morning, Art.
Hi there. Where are you?
Houston, Texas.
Houston. All right.
Yes.
You're going to have to yell at us a little. You're not too loud.
Oh, okay. Well, my name is Mary. I'm originally from Houston, but I lived in Georgia, a small town in Georgia, just outside of Atlanta, called Covington, Georgia. Very historical little town.
Beautiful area. Old southern mansion-type homes.
Yeah, oh, beautiful. Yeah, well, I lived behind the mansion in a garage apartment overlooking the cemetery.
Mm-hmm.
On Elm Street. And when we moved into the apartment, my brother-in-law was kidding me about it, saying I would never be alone. Okay?
Yeah.
Well, I figured, it's because of the cemetery. Well, one night, my husband, he worked out of town, and he would only come in on the weekend. So I was there by myself all the time, which is kind of spooky anyway. But I'm not, prone to let my imagination run wild with me. Well, early in 1975, I was at the house, the apartment, all by myself.
Mm-hmm.
I'm shaking just thinking about it. And I had the TV on, and it started acting funny and was picking up Houston, Texas. Ads.
Really?
Right. Okay, the apartment, I could not get it to stay warm. And I was just restless that night and just wandering back and forth between the bedroom and the living room. And at the top of the landing, it was 13 steps down to the front door.
Naturally.
And it had a little window.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, in this little window, I saw like a face. Okay? And I kept hearing this humming. I kept turning off the TV and everything and listening, and I heard this humming. Now, it wasn't like a heater humming, the air or anything like that. It was actually very cold. So I was nervous. I stayed up all night. I could not sleep. I kept hearing this humming, but it wasn't like a mechanical humming or anything like that or electronic. It was like a voice humming. Okay, so being I was up all night and everything, I decided the next morning I would take a walk. So I walked out there and I was looking at all the old Confederate tombstones, everything, all the unmarked graves,
Oh, yes.
the cross on it and everything. And when I came back over to the apartment, there's one little sectioned area there with wrought iron and everything, and it had about 6 tombstones in it, so I walked around it and I'm looking. This was so freaky. There was a young lady whose tombstone was there. She died back in, I believe it was 1873.
Mm-hmm.
Her name was Mary Robbins. She died when she was 16 years old. My maiden name was Robbins.
Oh.
Needless to say, we moved.
You got out of there.
Yeah, it was just too strange, too frightening.
I must say, graveyards are very strange places. I mean, they really are very strange places.
Well, they are quiet neighbors, but that night...
Quiet neighbors? No, you can feel them. Thank you very much. I've got a little story for you. My wife and I love Paris, France. You know, City of Lights. We go back there and we'll go back again. Paris is a magical town. Whatever you may say about the French, and there's a lot you can say about the French, Paris itself is just, there is no city like Paris. Very romantic town. In our last visit to Paris, we decided to travel about, 20 miles outside the center of the city and visit the burial place of Jim Morrison. It was a very, very, very large cemetery, and we had a very difficult time finding the burial place of Jim Morrison. And I finally got sick of looking, and there were tombs everywhere, and they were truly ancient, back in 1800s, late 1700s. It was creepy. I mean, they were all around you. You were literally in a field of graves. Many of them decrepit. Many of them, the inscriptions very difficult to read. And I finally got sick of looking, and so I said, I'm just going to sit here and wait. And Ramona would hike up the hill and look for Jim Morrison's resting place. But just sitting there by myself, in the middle of all these very old stone graves, I don't want to tell you because I would be lying that I could feel a presence. Because I didn't. I felt a kind of universal presence. A kind of reverence that I can't quite explain for a place where many lives came to rest. So no ghost story there, just a very eerie feeling. We did, incidentally, find the resting place of Jim Morrison, ultimately. But sitting there by myself, with all of these crypts, many of them crypts around me, very odd feeling. East of the Rockies, you're on the air. Good morning.
Hello?
Hello.
Good morning, Art. How are you?
I'm okay. You're going to have to kind of yell at us a little.
This is Dave from northern New Jersey.
Yes, sir.
About 40 miles west of New York City.
Okay.
A lot of people out here love you.
Thank you.
And we're tired of the Art Bell bashing from the local affiliate.
Oh, you refer not to the local affiliate, but to Curtis Sliwa.
Correct.
And his little angels, his band of angels. They're supposedly coming out here to talk to me.
He talked about it for the whole past week and a half.
Yeah, that's what I've heard.
In any event.
He ruins my NFL Sunday, and there'll be hell to pay, I'll tell you that right now. Anyway, do you have a story?
I've got a wonderful one.
All right.
It's a little bit long. I'll try to condense it for you. I got my parents a puppy back in 1980 because my dad had recently lost his hearing. And I had read that it was very cathartic to healing to get an animal for a person that went through a traumatic loss of the sense.
It absolutely is. It lowers blood pressure.
Right.
It's scientifically proven again and again. Listen, it's going to take obviously a moment for this story to unwind. So let me go ahead and do the break and come back, and we'll get it full on. All right?
Okay.
Okay. Stay right there. Yes. Yes, if Curtis and his little band of so-called angels come out and screw with my NFL Sunday, they're going to be haunting the halls of WABC. You hear me, Curtis? From the high desert, I'm Art Bell. This is Ghost to Ghost AM. Back now, I think, to New Jersey, right?
With Dave, right.
Right, Dave. Okay, now go right ahead.
Okay, I got the puppy from my dad back in 1980. It was a highly evolved little animal, a Cairn Terrier, kind of like Toto.
There are some dogs and cats that are more evolved than others.
Yeah, she was definitely a unique animal. And even though I didn't live with my mom and dad, she was my dog, which is kind of weird.
No, not really. It happens.
In October of 1991, she developed a lump on her back that got bigger and bigger and bigger.
Oh.
We took her to the vet. Turned out she had an inoperable type of cancer called fibrosis sarcoma with a 1 to 3% cure rate,
right,
which is like a death sentence.
Right.
So I didn't want to accept that, and I must have taken her to 8 or 9 vets throughout the state of New Jersey. And my friends thought I was crazy, you know, getting obsessed, being obsessed, whatever.
No, I understand.
Anyway, to make a long story short, I finally got networked in with a veterinary oncologist down in Red Bank, Central Jersey. And he was affiliated with the University of Pennsylvania Veterinary College, a teaching college. And he had just heard of a new interferon-based drug that had been approved by the Department of Agriculture, which is the government arm for drugs for animals as the FDA is for people.
Sure.
And he gave her the treatments, and she was cancer-free within 3 months.
The tumor receded.
It receded, and it just kind of popped off, and it was like a kind of bowl of jelly on her back, and they operated, and it was gone, and there was no trace.
Wow.
And she made the front page of the Asbury Park Press, which is the main paper for Central New Jersey, with a readership of about 1.2 million. Anyway, she finally got cancer back again in August of 1993.
Yes, sir.
So it extended her life about 2.5 years, approximately. And we had to make the decision to get her euthanized.
Right.
Even though we didn't want to.
Right.
But it was for her best interest. And it's tough when you lose something you love. And I felt very, very close to her.
It's very hard.
And I prayed. And I prayed. And this is down at my mom and dad's, about 80 miles south of where I live. And I asked God if God would please give me a sign to let me know that she was okay. Now, I just have to interject one thing in here. When she was a younger dog and healthy, because she was a little dog, I used to have this little game with her where I'd pick her up, kind of rock her back and forth, and gently, like, throw her on the bed.
Sure.
And she would land with, like, a boom, you know, pouncing on the bed.
Right.
Wagging her tail and waiting for me to pick her up to do it again.
Right.
So I get back home the following morning, you know, after we had her euthanized, got back to my apartment, the middle of a beautiful August day, and I'm sitting on my bed, and I think this happened during the day, purposely, so it wouldn't frighten me. And if somebody had told me this, Art, I would have a very tough time believing it if it didn't happen to me. Sitting on my bed, all of a sudden, I hear a thump to my left, and I instantly turn.
Right.
And as God is my witness, there are 4 indentations of like paw prints on my bed, right into the mattress. It was not of this earth.
Oof.
And at that point, I got a chill, and I'm getting a chill right now. But it made me believe that there really is something after, in respect to the fact that this happened, because I prayed for it, and I felt incredibly lucky that God heard me and God answered me.
I believe every word of it, every single word of it.
And it was the most incredible thing that ever happened to me in my life, you know, to this date.
I really appreciate your telling the story, and I thank you, sir.
Thank you, Art.
I had a cat. You know, I'm a big cat person. And I had a cat named Yesu. I named him Yesu after the Yesu radio company. They make ham gear, you know, so I thought it was cute to name a cat Yesu. And Yesu was 20 pounds plus. Yesu was a big black cat. And Yesu was an outside cat. I now don't let cats outside, but Yesu was an outside cat. He was a macho SOB, I'll tell you. There were a couple times I actually got into fights with Yesu, but most times we loved each other. And somebody shot Yesu, and I didn't realize it. But I did realize that my cat was extremely ill, possibly dying, and unfortunately the bullet hole was not visible. Somehow the bullet had gone in, and exited and gone right through Yesu's body and wasn't visible. You know, the fur, I guess, the blood clotted, I don't know, the fur covered it. I had no idea this cat had been shot. Yesu, to make a long story short, died in my arms. That's something I will never forget, just died in my arms. Where are you, please?
I am in beautiful downtown Monticello, Minnesota.
Yes, sir.
Just north of the Twin Cities. I'm listening to you on KSTP AM 1500.
I suspect KSTP goes all the way to the North Pole.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it does.
Yeah.
I, with a partner, do a lot of work with ghosts in the Twin City area. And we've had several...
You mean you do this professionally?
I would say semi-professionally because it's not constant enough to be professional by any means.
All right.
You know, it's occasional once every month or two you get somebody says, help me. But we did have a very interesting encounter. About a year and a half ago, it was my brush with fame, and the most famous person I can say that I've had a long conversation with would in fact be the late, great John Dillinger.
I beg your pardon?
That in fact would be it. John Dillinger, public enemy number one.
You spoke with John Dillinger?
Or an entity claiming to be such.
How? Please explain the circumstances.
Okay. Let me go back a little bit. And as with the work I do, I don't like to use the term seance. It's a very superstitious term, has a lot of negative connotations.
Yes.
I prefer the more enlightened term of circular gathering for communication with the mortality impaired. Okay.
Well, let me get that straight. Circular gathering for communication with the mortality impaired?
That is it.
I've got to remember that one, all right.
But we decided about a year and a half ago to, a group of us have a strong interest in 1930s gangsters. And so we decided to have one of these circular gatherings to talk to Mr. Dillinger on the anniversary of his death, which was July 22nd.
Uh-huh.
And so the first half of the evening, we invite whatever entities want to come to us. It's like kind of a warm-up. And we spoke to several different entities during that time period.
Aren't you afraid to do that? Aren't you afraid to open a door which you have no idea what's going to walk through?
We take precautions.
Mm-hmm.
We do a lot of work to protect ourselves. We call on higher powers. And whatever your faith system, be that God, angels, we do call on their assistance. We're not gonna be foolish about this. I have a healthy respect for these things. And being interested in documenting this occurrence, we did have tape recorders on hand, and because sometimes you can get something known as electronic voice phenomena, which is basically recordings of ghost voices.
You bet.
And, you know, that was the ultimate hope, but at least just to kind of document what happened that night. The first half of the evening, we spoke to several different entities, and we did have the recorder in operation, and the played back that first half of the tape. And we don't get any EVP, but we do get, you know, at least the room noise and the human side of the conversation. Take a short break. And after that short break, we call on Mr. Dillinger. And about 5-10 seconds after we begin our work, something enters the room claiming to be John Dillinger. We speak to him for about a half hour, 45 minutes.
Now, when you say you speak to him, via Ouija board?
No.
You mean aloud?
Aloud, and we get basically psychic impressions back. Ouija boards, I kind of have a very strong feeling about Ouija boards.
So do I.
They can be a useful tool, but it's a little bit spiritually like opening your door and inviting the first person that passes by on the street to come in.
That's right.
You just don't know what you're going to get. So we were speaking to this entity, and it answered a lot of questions. We know a little bit about Dillinger and had some specific questions, like the fate of some of his gang members. And at the end of the evening, We played that tape back, and about 5 to 10 seconds after we begin the work, the tape goes completely blank. Not even the human side of the conversation, yet most of the people at the table could see that the tape recorder was in operation.
Okay. I'm curious, with all the work you did, you must have some recordings, some interesting recordings. Have you kept them?
You know, I've kept them. I have yet to come up for any of our works where we contact anything or cleanse a house. We have yet to come up with any decent EVPs, although I have not had really good recording equipment there. It's usually pocket recorders. And,
what was it that Dillinger said to you?
Well, we had quite a few questions for him. One of the more interesting things was one of his gang members, Red Hamilton, was supposedly shot in the back in a chase from Hastings, Minnesota to St. Paul, Minnesota, and died several days thereafter. There had been rumors that Red Hamilton indeed did not get killed and made it out alive and hid undercover, much like the rumors about Butch Cassidy. But we asked John Dillinger about that, and he said, well, yeah, of course, Red got it out. He was fine. He lived to a ripe old age. What was interesting about that is 3 or 4 people at the table did get the distinct impression that at that point we were definitely being lied to. And some of them even went so far as to suspect that maybe John Dillinger killed the guys to speed the death along so he could run further faster.
Well, what would you expect from John Dillinger?
Yeah, well, I mean, he's got a reputation as a cold-blooded guy, and then there were some apologists recently saying, well, no, he wasn't so bad, but maybe he was.
Maybe he was. I sure appreciate the story, sir.
Okay.
Thank you, and take care. Hello, Art. Having just heard the story from your fellow townsperson, or Perumpian, if you will, I thought I would multiply the impact of that story. About 15 years ago, while sleeping in my upstate New York, very old residence, I was aroused by the growling of my husky shepherd, but I could not awaken. I was paralyzed, unable to move or speak. The absolute sensation of a person kneeling on my chest and restraining me delivered one of the most solid moments of panic I've ever known. I was, I assure you, totally conscious, but powerless to move my limbs or cry out, as the weight of this apparition seemed to increase. The entire time, my dog kept barking and growling. I concentrated on the sound of his voice until I was suddenly able to sit up and force the intruder off my chest. Within a heartbeat, to my utter amazement, the curtains of my room were shoved aside. Even though the window was closed, my dog confirmed what I had seen by leaping to the window and continuing the barking and growling. It took a full 30 minutes before my dog would come and sit with me on the bed. And there was no more sleep to be had that night, and I stayed with friends for a few nights following that incident. Yeah, I really love hearing stories about Pahrump. West of the Rockies, you're on the air. Hello.
Yes, Art, hi.
Hi.
Some frightening stories tonight, and by the way, my name is Dan. I'm calling from Woodland Hills, California.
Yes, sir.
I got another terrifying story to share with you.
Fire away.
Yeah, it actually happened to my father back in 1961 down in Dana Point, California. And like I said, it is rather terrifying. He was coming home late one night from work, and the house he was living in had partially burned down, so he was back in an add-on home in the back. He was getting ready for bed, and like I said, this is 61, and there were some of those rather kind of deco lamps hanging up in there that had the strings that you pull to turn them on.
Oh, yes.
You might remember.
Sure, I do.
But anyway, he had just gotten ready for bed and turned the lights off, and the lights were controlled from a switch on the wall.
Right.
And so he didn't turn them off from the pole, he just did them from the switch. Well, he laid down to go to bed, and the room was completely sealed, and the mattress he was laying on was rather low to the floor. It didn't have one of those box springs.
Right.
Well, he laid there just for about a minute or two trying to get to sleep, and as I said, the whole room was sealed shut. He started to notice and actually hear these strings for the lights jingling, just ching, 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 ching. And he started getting, wondering what that was, and he was just looking straight up at the rafters on the ceiling. And at that moment, it still frightens me today to talk about this. He heard actually just didn't hear, but he felt a moan and a breath blow into his ear like like this.
Oh boy.
And this is the kind of stuff that you hear about, but my father's a very serious man, and he's never had experiences like this before. And it really affected me. So he was laying there, and of course, as I've been hearing this evening, he was just completely petrified. But he heard the thing still rattling, as if there was some kind of motion in the room, and this thing did it again, moaned into his ear louder and longer. Well,
you go into a kind of a state of shock is what happens.
I guess it is. I guess the system goes into a complete shock. But he definitely had a sense. This happened a third time, and this happened over probably would seem eternity for him, but he said it was just a couple of minutes. He definitely had a sense beyond the shock that he had to move. He was in utter danger for whatever reason. I don't know if it was possession or what.
It's fight or flight. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I guess so. Anyway, so he was there, but like I said, he was overcome even over that with a sense to get out of there. So he summoned every ounce of courage he had, and he jumped out of bed, ran across the room, flipped the light switch on, looked back, and of course there was nothing there. But the things were still moving up there. Well, needless to say, he got out of there and never slept in that room again.
I wouldn't.
But it's affected me so much that I actually cover my ears when I sleep at night. Because of that story.
For me, it's closets. I never go to sleep with an open closet. There are things in closets. You always close closets before you go to sleep if you're smart. If you don't want things coming out of them, you close them.
Amen.
Thank you for the call, sir.
Sure.
All right, we're going to break here at the top of the hour. There is more. If you can handle it, if your heart can handle it, there is more. This is what we call Ghost to Ghost AM, and I do it when I get in the mood, and this is one of those nights. It's dark, it's kind of windy, and a little bit of rain in the air in the desert. Kind of eerie. It's a good night for this. I'm Art Bell, and this is Ghost to Ghost AM. Here we go again. First-time caller line, you're on the air. Good morning.
Good morning, Art.
How are you, and where are you?
I'm fine. I'm Derek. I'm calling from Metairie, Louisiana, which is right next door to New Orleans.
Which is also the home of Anne Rice.
Yeah, that's right. She gets lots of attention around here.
Sure.
We've got a nice spooky night down here too. It's extremely foggy right now. So.
Well, look, you live in an area, fog or not.
That's right. That's right. It feels like you're swimming no matter what time it is.
Right.
But anyway, about 10 years ago, around 1988, me and my girlfriend and my girlfriend's friend, ex-girlfriend, these are all ex, but me and my ex-girlfriend, my ex-girlfriend's friend, my ex-girlfriend's younger sister, and my ex-girlfriend's younger sister's friend were all together one night. It was a Friday night, and we were looking for something to do. So we said, hey, let's try a Ouija board. What's that? You know, and I really wish that I would have known what your earlier caller said about you never know what you're going to get into, because we really didn't. And I, being the scientifically minded, decided to do it in a way that, it couldn't be faked. I just wanted to make sure that all the bases were covered, and that whatever happened would really happen.
Yes, I have a lot of respect for Ouija boards. Thank you.
Okay, good. We turned off all the lights. We lit a few candles, and I had my girlfriend and her friend sit across from each other with a Ouija board on their lap, and the other two youngsters were just on the side watching. This was great Friday night entertainment. So I just started asking questions, and I said, I said, you know, the two girls, my girlfriend and her friend, had their hands on a little pointer thing. And I said, I want you two to look eye to eye the whole time, because I wanted to make sure that they wouldn't be able to see what was going on the board. Okay?
Right.
So I was asking questions, very general questions, like, you know, is there anybody out there? You know, stuff like that. And, you know, they'd move the thing around and I'd go, you know, close to yes, stuff like that. And I was like, okay, well, let's narrow it down a little bit more. Are you a boy or a girl? You know, and it fooled around the board, and eventually we ended up getting some sort of man. Okay, I couldn't tell you the history of this man, but it started to feel a little bit eerie. It started to feel like the board was not joking around. You know, it was starting to talk to us.
Right.
And so needless to say, we were all feeling a little tense to begin with. And I started asking questions like, are you a good man? And, you know, I go to no, of course. I say, you're a bad man. And then I go to yes. And this whole time, the people who are moving the board are not looking at the board. And I was asking the questions, and I was reading the answers. So the younger girls are starting to freak. I'm starting to freak. So I say, well, it's about time that I ask a question that's going to call his bluff. It's going to prove that this really isn't happening. So I said, well, how many people are in this room right now? And it went to 6. And at first I was like, oh, you see, I told you. But then it hit me that there were 5 of us in the room, and he was the extra one. And it was 6, and we just freaked.
Yes, of course.
The young girls bust out into tears. We felt a presence in the room that scared the living daylights out of us. It was unbelievable. So
all I can tell you is my experience with a Ouija board was similar, and I won't get within 1,000 miles of one.
I'll never touch one again. You know, and the weekend after that, we were like, you know, y'all want to do it, but no thanks.
No thanks.
It really, to this day, 10 years later, I'm still remember it, and I still tell this story.
And I believe every word of it. Thank you very much for it. Look, I won't even talk about it, but I'll tell you that you be wary. Don't think it's fun. Ouija boards are invitations to, it's like, I guess it's like getting on the radio and inviting everybody in the audience over to your house. You know, you have no idea who's going to come through the door. Wildcard line, you're on the air. Hi.
How you doing this morning, Art?
Well, I'm okay, I guess. I'm getting a little freaked out at my own program, like usual, but I'm all right.
It just goes with the territory.
Yeah.
Now, this is from an earlier caller. He was on the Enterprise back in 1982.
That's correct.
I was on the Enterprise in 1984. And
really?
I can verify what he was saying. I was in a different department, but I can definitely verify what he was saying.
Really?
Yeah. Mine is from the same time frame, 84 to 88. I was in a squadron, one of the fixed-wing squadrons that was on board. We were to do some temporary duty on the USS just for Independence. And so a few of us went over there with it. I'm one of the cooks out of that squadron, so I said, yeah, I'll go with the guys, no problem.
Right.
And we were told that, some strange things happened on board that ship. And I'm going, okay, yeah, whatever. Well, I'm in one of the voids. It's a room that's just used for whatever. And this one just so happened to be for a lot of our dry storage for the galleys.
Mm-hmm.
And me and this one guy from that's normal ship's company, we're sitting there, we're talking, we're going over inventory, and he goes, hey, you want to hear something really freaky? I said, okay. I said, first of all, you got to turn down the radio. Well, there was no stereo in the room. Okay, there's a bunch of music. He goes, well, that's part of it. I said, okay. And he goes, you just stick around here for a little while. You're gonna see something really strange. Now, there's boxes all over the place with cans of dried goods or fruits and stuff like that. You're talking around 25 to 30 pounds each box. And all of a sudden, at the complete other end, the boxes are just starting to fly.
What?
Like something is just going right through them. And I'm the one that's facing it, and the guy's looking the other way. We're standing right there by the hatch. And he just sees this look on my face, and he grabs me, and he pulls me right through the hatch, and he slams it shut, and it sounds like something just ran right into the hatch. And I'm going, what in the hell was that? He goes, oh. That's just the beginning. You don't know about this ship. And there was nobody else in there but us two. And we had already looked everywhere. Right, we were going through making our inventory. He goes, come on, I'm going to show you something else. So we go into this other void that's completely empty, except over on one of the bulkheads, one of the walls, there was a former hatch there, but it was all bolted down.
Right.
I'm going, okay, so this is, nothing new. I used to play poker in some of these rooms and stuff like that on the Enterprise. And he goes, oh, no, just sit here and listen. So we're sitting there just shooting the breeze for a little bit, and all of a sudden I hear a whole bunch of banging and a whole bunch of yelling. And it was kind of muffled. It sounded like it was coming from the other side of the wall. And I was going, okay, so what's going on? And it was getting louder and louder and louder, and the more that you listen to it, the more you can hear, help us, don't let us drown, just, help us, all this. I'm going, what is going on here? And he goes, come on, we're going to go explain it to you. So I'm sitting there with a whole bunch of these other guys.
You're telling me this is a bolted hatch?
Bolted hatch. What had happened was a torpedo hit perfect right into the one of the old tanks where they used to hold the jet fuel. And there were a whole bunch of guys down there at that time scrubbing it out because it had been contaminated with something. They had to completely empty it, scrub it down, dry it, and then refuel it with jet fuel. No problem. Well, these guys were down in it. I believe it was during World War II. A direct torpedo hit right into that tank. It was already empty, so it didn't, completely blow up. But all these guys drowned in there. They had to close all the hatches that led to it. So it was called watertight integrity. This way, the water wouldn't spread out throughout the ship.
Right.
All right. But all these men drowned in there. And
that's what you were hearing?
Oh, yeah, that's what we were hearing.
I don't know if I could stay on board a ship like that.
Well, there's a lot more. Going up, now this is all on the Independence. Go up there to the bridge to go visit a couple of friends of mine that I knew from high school that I knew were there. And I was telling them about these two experiences, and they said, oh, that's nothing. Oh, yeah, there's more. And just as I said that, all the instruments were blinking. The standard compass that we have, a humongous compass, at least 3 feet in circumference.
Yes, sir.
Was just spinning. It was just going like it was hooked up to a mechanism to where it was just going to start spinning.
I hear you. Well, electromagnetic disturbance around things like this is fairly common.
Yeah, it was just, to this day I will never forget it, especially hearing the screams that were on the other side of that bulkhead where those guys were that had drowned, and then seeing all those boxes fly around, 25 to 30 pounds each.
I would not handle that well. I appreciate the call.
Sure.
Appreciate the story. Thank you. I wouldn't handle that one well at all. Not well at all. The implication of that is, and I'm still trying to figure this out as we handle these kinds of stories. What is that? Certainly it cannot be the lingering souls of men who died such a horrible death. Can it? Reliving that again and again? With some kind of hellish consciousness? No, I wouldn't handle that well at all. Good morning. You're on the air on Ghost to Ghost AM, if you will. I'm Art Bell. Where are you, please?
Hello?
Hello.
Hi. My name's Denise. I'm calling from Sacramento, California.
Hi, Denise.
And the story I have for you, by the way, I've really been enjoying those stories.
Well, enjoying is a word, I guess. I'm not sure if it's a proper one for some of what we've heard, but...
Not some of them.
Yeah.
Perhaps.
Anyway.
So anyway, my story is, my mother, she drove down to Lodi, California yesterday. Both of my grandparents are buried there.
Oh, yes.
And she went down to see her uncle, my grandmother's brother, with her brother, my uncle. And they usually stop by the cemetery to see my grandparents. And she is not a believer in ghosts. But I think, I don't know, she might have changed her mind after yesterday. She went by the gravesite, and she usually goes by to do a little visiting. And she was knelt down, she was saying some prayers, she says to herself.
Right.
She says, just all of a sudden, there was this film in front of her. It was just like a film. And she said it wasn't there that long. And she said, then pretty soon, it was just gone. And she said, it was strange. And I said, you don't believe in ghosts, huh? She's not a believer, but I am. And there are a couple other odd things that have happened with that particular.
Well, I'm a believer. I don't know exactly what ghosts are.
Oh, I don't either.
But they are something, and what I'll tell you what I want to believe. Thank you. I want to believe that they are the echo, the remnant of what once was, not the remaining consciousness of what is. Because to believe that, as that man said in that terrifying story, that those men eternally remain reliving that horrible death again and again, that drowning, that's too much. I don't want to believe that. I'd much rather believe that, like an endless tape loop, it's some sort of a weak echo of what was. But I can't be sure of that. Can you? East of the Rockies, you're on the air. Hi.
Good morning, Art.
Good morning to you.
And how are you doing this eerie evening?
Well, I was better earlier.
I understand that. Well, like one of the previous caller, I am calling from New Orleans.
New Orleans again?
Like Metairie.
Yes.
Now, for most listeners, if you've never been to New Orleans, it is a very eerie place to come to.
It really is.
Yeah, especially at night. They have vampire tours now.
Oh, vampire tours?
In the French Quarter, you can take a vampire tour. You can take haunted, mansion tours.
I absolutely am coming to New Orleans.
You know what? It's amazing the things that you'll find out here. Especially, one of the most amazing things to visit, if you are not, a native of New Orleans, one of the things that you'd want to come to if you were a tourist is the cemeteries.
Mm-hmm.
The cemeteries are unlike any other cemetery in the world. Okay, because all the cemeteries are above ground.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so they're tremendous, and just some of the sculptures and statues in these cemeteries are just.
It kind of sounds like the one I was in Paris.
Oh yeah. But what I'm calling to tell you tonight is there's suburbs of New Orleans called New Orleans East, and I do live in these suburbs. There's one particular suburb called Village de l'Est. Now, as story goes, from way back when, Village de l'Est used to be kind of like an Indian, you can't really call it reservation, but the Natchez Indians used to settle on this land. It was a lot of swampland.
Right.
Now, how the story went was when an Indian died, or when a Native American died, one of the Natchez tribe, they would take the Native American and put him in an old oak tree. When that oak tree fell, whether naturally, or if lightning struck it or something, the soul of that Indian would go up, to wherever. Okay? Now, here's how the story goes. There are a lot of haunted houses, or houses that are haunted, or people hear things or whatever in this subdivision.
Yes.
Especially on one particular block, where I have a good friend of mine who lives there, Teddy. Now, we've heard, things go on in that house. Like sometimes real late at night, you'd hear like a faint jingle of bells, something like that. Or you'd hear beating on walls, or you just feel small gusts of wind from nowhere.
Yes.
Eerie things. So we had a friend of ours who she was a Native American also, and she had an uncle who practiced and always went to the tribe things. I can't remember what you call them.
Tribal gatherings.
Yeah, exactly. In Mississippi.
Listen, we're at the bottom of the hour. I've got a break here, so stay right where you are, will you?
Okay. evil spirits. Apparently, Andrea's uncle was explaining to us that they're evil and that they're upset because they're stuck in, like he said, limbo. They're not going anywhere. They're staying right there, and they cannot get out. But the day that he burned that sage, there has never been another incident occur in that house.
Well,
he said that we shook something up in there when we played around with something bad. He said that what happened was we were getting in over our heads, in other words.
Mm-hmm. Very easy to do.
We were playing, he said, we were playing with fire too close to gasoline. And he said that really, really upset the evil spirits that they have in that house, you know, and it kind of, you know, peed off, you know, the good spirit. Because the good spirit was trying to keep the evil away from us. But Andrea's uncle came in, and he was the one that explained to us about the Natchez Indian burying their dead in the trees. And when that tree would fall, you know, from age or whatever, then the spirit, you know, of
would
that
be
body
released, yes.
would be released.
Mm-hmm.
And he explained to us that those were a couple bodies, and there are a couple other spirits in other houses out there in Village de l'Est that are haunted.
All right.
You know, and
as I said earlier, even at the best of times, sir, in your city, it's a haunted kind of place. Now, I think that the book that I read that kind of parallels what he just said, actually it comes pretty close to it, is called Speaker for the Dead. You ever get a chance to read Speaker for the Dead, definitely do it. In fact, I've been meaning to interview the author of that book for some time, and I had it lined up, and I don't know what I did. Must have slipped by me. I'll get on that again. Good morning. You're on the air in what we call Ghost to Ghost AM. Where are you, please?
Hi, this is Kelly in Soda Springs, Idaho.
Kelly, we have a big hum on the phone here.
Oh, okay. That's the other line. Can you hold on 1 second?
Sure.
You have to hang on, Dana.
Oh, I see. We've got two on the line here.
So that was my husband on the other line. We have a couple stories for you.
Okay, but we still have hum. Still have a lot of hum, yes.
Wow.
I mean, I can hear you, but it's like something's...
Let me shut off my computer. Maybe that's what it is.
Let's see if that's it. Could be your computer. It is now safe to turn your computer off.
Okay.
No, it's still there. Anyway, go ahead and tell us one.
Is that better?
No, but go ahead and give us your best one.
Okay. Well, about 3 years ago, my daughter was 2, and every night at 12:26, every night she'd wake up screaming.
12:26.
Not screaming scared, and not screaming upset, but screaming pissed. You know, like if you went in and you shook somebody awake and then you hid.
Oh, yes.
Okay. She was mad. You could tell she was just mad.
Yeah.
So I'd run upstairs and calm her down, put her back to sleep, and I'd go back down to bed. Well, one particular night, it was hot. It was just dripping sweat. I got to bed. I told my husband, if that booger wakes her up tonight, I'm going to be so mad. He's going to get it. You know, I don't know how do you get a ghost, right? So she woke him up, or he woke her up. And at 12:26, I go upstairs. I'm trying to calm her down. I'm ripping this ghost a new butt. And I finally get her calmed down. I go back downstairs. I'm even more dripping wet because of the heat from upstairs. And I'm tossing and turning, trying to go back to sleep. And all of a sudden, I feel this, like, cool fingers go across my neck. And I was turning around, just, you know, asked my husband what he did that for, and he's rolled over on his other side, sound asleep.
Oh, my.
And I'm thinking, oh, wow, you know, that was kind of weird, and it never did scare me. Within 20 seconds, the temperature in the room dropped a good 15, 20 degrees to cool it off. And, I got the feeling that he was apologizing to me in his own way, appeasing me, I don't know. Never woke her up again that night, after that night.
So, in other words, your little tantrum...
Yeah, I did throw a tantrum. Yes, I did. And it worked.
Wow, what a story. What part of the country are you in?
We live in a very small town in Idaho called Soda Springs. It's like 1,300 people, or 1,100 people, I'm sorry. A lot of old buildings. It's an old mining community. A lot of deaths in the mines, and this so happened to be a little boy who turned out to be my daughter's best friend for a while. And they'd walk along holding hands and talking, and she'd hold his hand, and they'd walk along, and all of a sudden a chair that'd be in the middle of the room would tip over like he walked right past, right over top of it. And she was, with her hand was a good foot away. I mean, it's just weird. All kinds of fun stuff like that. But never a bad thing. We never felt threatened in any way. He pulled tricks on us.
Well, that is a remarkable story. I mean, thank you very much. To take off at a ghost, to get angry at a spirit, and to literally read it the riot act. First of all, I don't know how you'd have the guts to do that, but I suppose eventually waking up enough times to a screaming child, you might do it. And then to feel a cold hand on the back of your neck and feel a temperature drop of 20 degrees in a room. And then to have that entity go away. You've got to wonder. Some of it seems so conscious. First time caller line, you're on the air. Hi.
Hi.
Where are you?
I'm from Redding, California.
Redding, California.
Mm-hmm.
All right. You've been having some earthquakes up there, haven't you?
Oh, yeah. Yes, I have.
It's been really rocking and rolling. As a matter of fact, it's swarming up there. So.
Yeah, there was 2 yesterday and then 1 today.
Uh-huh. So what's up?
I have a story from, I'm 15 years old now, and it was in 8th grade.
Okay.
Yes, and 8th grade, junior high, my junior high has a theater, an old theater. The junior high is dated back from 1911.
Mm-hmm.
And I was doing a play there. It was my first play. I had the lead role, and all throughout the play, well, there has been plays before about speculation that the theater is haunted, because all the time the house lights, brand new house lights, would go on and off and on and off and on and off. The whole audience saw it, and the stagehands backstage could see the light switch going up and down and up and down.
Your name's not Carrie, is it?
No, it's not.
Okay.
It's Heidi.
Heidi.
Yes, Heidi.
That's just as good. All right, Heidi.
And then there'd be pounding on the top part when nobody would be up there.
You could actually, going back, you could actually see the switch going on and off?
Yes, my friend was the stage manager, and she was there doing the house lights, and she wasn't even touching them. The light switch was going on and off and on and off by itself.
Enough for me right there.
It was pretty scary. And the pounding on the top part, the catwalk on the top, above the house lights,
yes,
was pounding like footsteps running across.
Yes.
And then the side entrances going to backstage, the curtains were flapping back and forth like somebody was pushing them around.
Mm.
And, well, while all this was happening, I was the lead of the play, so I was getting into costumes and stuff, and I knew something wrong was going on, but nobody was really, I really wasn't following, but I was really nervous because it was the first play that I was ever doing, and I was the lead.
Sure.
And I could, I don't know if I could actually physically hear it, but I felt like a girl's whisper in my head saying, "You're going to do all right. I'm looking over you. You're going to do great. Just go on there, and you're going to do fine because I'm watching over you." I could hear this person whispering in my head. I could just feel a presence of a ghost or something around me, and it was actually kind of neat. I wasn't that scared. But the first stuff, the house lights going on and off, it was just kind of like this child having fun.
Who do you think was talking to you, Heidi?
Nobody was around me. I was behind the curtain by myself.
No, I know. You were hearing this. Who do you think it was?
Well, I have heard stories, but they have been just stories. You know, I thought they were just stories of a girl a long time ago, like when the school just opened, performing a play, and I don't know if she died in the theater or she died, but she really liked the theater itself, so she might have kept that as a home or something. And I think it might have been her, you know, telling me that I was going to do all right.
Right. You know, I don't want to believe that somebody like that would remain, even in a theater, even in a place they loved, eternally. I mean, Heidi, doesn't that seem to you like a hell, sort of?
Yes. It does.
One imagines something...
It feels like a restless kind of spirit, like she doesn't want to stay there. That's why she makes so much mischief and everything, you know?
Precisely.
Flicking on the house lights and pounding up in the stairs ways and messing with the curtains and everything.
Heidi, how did the play go?
It went fine after that. Besides, everybody was just... They all thought that it was a trick, which was all right. We didn't want the audience to get scared, so we just let them think that it was a trick.
So they never really knew. They thought that was part of the act.
No, I think they just thought it was part of the act, yeah. Afterwards, like, the backstage people told their families and stuff, but, yeah, it was... We all felt it, you know, and we're pretty serious about our craft, so we wouldn't really do anything like that because it's pretty unprofessional anyway. So, it was something else. It was pretty interesting.
I really appreciate your story, Heidi.
Okay, thank you.
You bet. Good night, and I'm glad you did well in the play. Wildcard line, you're on the air. Hi.
Hi, Art. How you doing?
Okay.
Okay, well, I had a story that happened about 24 years ago. I was living in a rooming house, and the lady that owned the house was 89 years old. She lived in the front part of the house. It was separated from the other sleeping rooms.
Right.
And I got out of the military and kind of a rogue and stuff. Anyway, I had stayed there for, maybe 6 months or so, and she asked me if I wanted to come in and play a game, and I thought, well, she's going to have to play checkers or something like that, or something along that line. I got in there, and the room was dimly lit, and she sat down at the table, and she pulled out this Ouija board.
That kind of a game, huh?
Yeah, and she started to told me how to do it, and we proceeded with it, and it started spelling out old-fashioned names, first names, like Horace and Elmer. She had been married 4 or 5 times before, and she told me that these were the names of her husbands. And the more we played it, probably went on 45 minutes to an hour, the faster that would go across the board, that little triangle-shaped thing would go across there.
Yes.
At the point, it was almost flying off there. At one point, she had some tea there. She asked me to go to the kitchen and get a cup, and I went to the kitchen and opened the door, and this is no lie, she had hundreds of cockroaches crawling all through her cabinets, and she had honey in jars where she said she was catching them, and so I had enough of that. I didn't want any tea or anything else. I went back, and we continued to play that game, but it turned into, I just felt real eerie, like the hair was standing on the back of my neck, and that it got so out of control that triangle little deal that we were working would just fly off the table just about. So that was a pretty scary.
My friend, that would be it for me. I've got to go. We're at the top of the hour. You're on the air, Coast to Coast AM, or is it Ghost to Ghost AM? Good morning.
Hi.
Hi there.
This is Joe. I'm calling from Jamestown, New York.
Hi, Joe.
Hi. I'm just so glad you called me. I can't believe it.
Well,
I love your show.
Selectively doing that, looking at stories, and if they seem interesting, I'm calling a few people.
Well, this is so great. First of all, I guess to start the whole thing, I've been living it's my dream home, and it was a home in Frewsburg, New York, which probably no one's ever heard of before, because it's kind of like a Mayberry, and a very small town, but beautiful community. And but it's been known to be haunted because it was built in 1840, and it's a part of the Underground Railroad. So it has the tunnels and the false fireplace.
There may be some people who don't know what the Underground Railroad is.
The Underground Railroad was all of the connections that were made from the South all the way up to Canada to help the slaves escape from the South. So this was a home that was built. While it was being built, he was an abolitionist, and he actually built his home to provide for this, so that he would help keep the slaves in a safe area, even though they wouldn't just hide in these little cubby holes or anything for a long period of time. Only if the sheriffs would come would they need to hide. But they had it all protected so that they could help to when it was safe. Then they would move on to another station closer and closer, like up through the route came through Silver Creek, Buffalo, that kind of area, and then up into Canada until they were free
Right.
from the country.
Right.
So, and this is, and it's written up in all the books and everything because it's one of the few places left standing, which makes us kind of nervous because it is old and it's huge and it has all its little hiding places and beautiful wood. And the reason I chose it was because I love antiques and I knew it was haunted from the stories that I'd heard in this small town. You know, people talk. But it didn't bother me because that kind of thing doesn't bother me. But we had right away. We were doing as we moved in with my 1-year-old. We were doing all the painting and refurbishing the home and doing things that we needed to do to fix it up. But right away we could tell that there was an entity there.
Right.
I had the first thing that happened was when my little girl who had cerebral palsy, she couldn't even turn or crawl, move to crawl, but she was eyeing a ball that was like six feet away from her, and she wanted it so badly. But and we were busy painting, and I took one little break, and I sat down in a chair, and I had one eye on her and one eye on still my work I was going to do. But instead, I see this little red and white ball just not roll to her, but move to her about 6 feet, just slide across the floor to her, so now she can see it and she's playing with it, and I'm standing up thinking, I can't believe what I'm looking at. This just doesn't seem. I know what I want to describe to people, but I don't know how to. And that was just the beginning. And in that house, we knew that the entities were friendly, but we just knew that they were doing a lot of things in the house, but mostly friendly things, and nothing to scare us. Just to they wanted to let us know that they were there. We have like those latches, the antique iron latches that are on the inside of these older homes.
Right.
You have to have the thumb on one side, to lift up the latch on the other side. And after there was just some knocking noise to let me know that it was kind of like a warning that there was a presence in the room. And then the next thing I know, I'm standing right at this door. It's an inner door. No wind, no scientific reason why they should move, and all of a sudden just the inner latch is going up and down. So I thought, well, you're supposed to talk to these spirits and see if they might, do something else to communicate with you. But as soon as I did, then it stopped. And there have been, like you can hear someone speaking downstairs. Like if you're upstairs, you can hear voices, and you know how if it's in a different room, you don't really know exactly what they're saying, but you know someone is speaking. You can't really actually hear the words that they're
This sounds
saying.
exactly like a story a man sent me, a really eerie story not long ago. As a matter of fact, let me tell you that story. And thank you. This man is technically knowledgeable. He's a ham, as I am, and I'm sorry that I didn't save the story. But roughly, here it is. He and his wife slept in one room, his children in another. They were small children. And the children would be awakened in the middle of the night with voices. Indistinct, busy voices. You could sort of just barely hear what they were. Kind of like you would hear voices carried on the wind from a neighbor's house, something like that. But the voices were so loud in the children's room that It would wake the children up at night. And the man finally went into his children's room, and he had to stand on a chair in order to hear the voices. But he heard them not clearly, but with enough volume to be bothered. And he had to be in one particular spot. Now, this man monitored these voices for months. And here's the really eerie part. You had to be in one particular place to hear the voices. And the voices would move about an inch or two every day. Every day. And he monitored these voices until finally they exited the house, spot where you could hear them, and literally moved across his backyard until finally he had to literally stand on the brick, the block wall by the back of his house to hear the voices. And there they were, chattering away. Months later, they had moved, 50 or 60 or 70 feet, and they just kept going. Now, you tell me what he was hearing. He ran through just about everything. Could it be RF from a radio station nearby? No. He ruled that out. What could it possibly be? Some sort of rip, some sort of tear in the continuum? Something from time past? Almost probably that. And as far as he knows, they just kept moving. This little spot where the voices could be heard just kept moving. West of the Rockies, you're on the air. Hi.
Hi, Art.
Hello.
How are you?
A little freaked out, but okay.
This is Marie, and I'm calling from Crowheart, Wyoming.
Yes, ma'am.
And we're on the Wind River Indian Reservation, and they call it the land of the little people.
Ah.
But my story doesn't start here anyway.
All right.
We lived in Oregon, and this happened to me about 22 years ago.
Right.
This was 1976. My daughter had a friend, and she would come over and stay at our house. My daughter would go down there and stay with her. And one night, her friend and her brother were driving down this little road. We live way out in the country, about 15 miles out of Sutherland, Oregon. And her brother and her were going down our country road, and I'm not really sure what happened to him, but they wound up going off an embankment about 100 feet down into the ravine. And he helped her crawl up the side of the hill, and they were hurt pretty bad, but he got her up to the side of the hill, and just as she got up to the top of the road, he fell back down. Well, she made it about a quarter of a mile to a half of a mile to where the fire department was, and she got some help. Well, needless to say, he didn't make it, and she wound up in the hospital. And I worked nights. I worked at the Denny's restaurant there, and I worked graveyard shift, or actually wasn't graveyard, but until midnight, and I'd have to come home through that road. Well, like the day after the accident happened, I would come to the area where they had gone off the road, and there was this Aborigine standing in the road with his hands up in the air.
Oh, my.
And it kind of scared me, and I didn't know if I should keep going or stop or what I should do. And I said, no, I'm going to go past. So I went on home, and I told my husband about it, and the following night the same thing happened. And this happened for like 3 or 4 nights. And my daughter got a call from her friend that was in the hospital, and she asked her if she could come and see her. So I took my daughter in to see her, and I really didn't understand why I was seeing this in the road. I mean, to me it was sort of, what do you want, what's going on, type thing. It was like he was restless or something was going on and trying to tell me something. At least that's how I felt. So I took my daughter in to see her friend at the hospital, and she went in to see her, and then she asked my daughter if I would mind going in and seeing her.
Right.
So I said, well, okay, I'd go in. And my daughter waited for me out in the hall, and it was just her friend and I in the room. And she started telling me that it was all her fault that her brother died, that she could have done something to help him, and, she was just crying. And I finally told her, I said, it was not your fault. There was nothing that you could have done to change the situation. And after that, I didn't see him in the road anymore.
Wow.
It was almost like I was to go to tell her because she wanted to commit suicide. She wanted to end her life because she felt like she was responsible for what happened to him. And after I went and saw her and told her that it wasn't her fault, then I felt like a big weight was lifted off of me, and she got well.
Remarkable. Absolutely remarkable.
It was really a strange situation.
Did it make you a believer?
Oh, definitely, because I had something else happen to me in '80, and it was sort of a situation where we lived in a little tiny trailer, and I kept getting this odor, and I couldn't figure out what it was at first, and we had this dog that kept looking behind her. Well, this odor that I kept getting was sort of like, I could smell like my grandfather. You know how certain people, they eat certain things, and they have just an odor about them.
Sure.
Well, he always ate Cheerios and all bran for breakfast and toast, and that's what I kept smelling. Now, they lived in New York, and we were in Oregon. And my dog kept looking behind her one day and growling, and I couldn't figure out what was wrong. And the following day, I got a phone call from my mother that my grandfather had passed away. And I knew he had been there.
There's every reason to believe that those who pass away, even those who move on, linger long enough near loved ones.
So I hadn't seen him in probably 20 years.
And
I think it was just his way of making sure that me and my family were fine, and then he was okay.
A very common story. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Take care.
Bye.
Listen, I'm getting a lot of email here indicating, well, let me read you one from Jay. Warning, 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 solar images. Look out, here comes a big solar flare. And this one is a big one. We'll try and get the information up on the website tonight, if not tomorrow. So there apparently has been a very, very large solar flare, and we'll try and keep you updated. First-time caller line, you're on the air. Hi.
Hello?
Hello.
Hi, how are you, Art?
I'm okay. Where are you?
I am in Kansas City, Missouri.
Kansas City. Oh.
The story I'm about to tell you, although it does not happen here, happens in central South Dakota.
Central South Dakota.
Right, Mitchell to be exact.
Tell me something. Are they saying bad things about me on Kansas City Talk Radio?
You know what? My husband turned me on to you this evening, and I work in a bar, and he said he kind of got freaked out yesterday about some Catholic pastor talking about...
Oh, yes, that was another program. No, this relates to a possible curse placed on the Kansas City Chiefs. I've been getting some really nasty... And anyway...
I'm a Raiders fan, so...
You're a Raiders?
Yeah.
Yes, so am I, actually. All right, go ahead.
About mid-1991, I had just filed for divorce, and I found out 3 weeks later that I was pregnant with my second child.
Oh, boy.
Which is, not great.
Not great.
And I was living with his family in a little town called Parkston, South Dakota, and not very happy. And I was thinking about an abortion, which I have a very Catholic family.
I understand.
And their Catholic upbringing, but at the time I was so sick of religion, I didn't think about church, I didn't care.
No, you were in the middle of a divorce. Taking a long way home, sort of, and thinking about an abortion. Listen, this sounds like a very interesting story. We're at a break. Can I put you on hold?
Okay.
All right. We will come back after the break and finish this one up. Can you imagine that? Are there worse, more serious human situations than that? You file for divorce, you're with your family, and you find out you're pregnant. You begin thinking about an abortion. It's your second child. I don't know. It doesn't get much rougher than that, does it? From the high desert, where the clouds and the rain and the mist are moving in on kind of a creepy night, this is Coast to Coast AM. I wonder if they speeded up her voice or if she just had 10 cups of coffee to do that. All right. Well, anyway, you're back, and I cannot imagine a worse situation. Filing for divorce, you find out you're pregnant, you're living with your family, and you're thinking, pardon me?
His family.
Even worse yet. And you're considering an abortion.
Right.
Okay.
So at the time I decided to take a part-time job to get away from my situation, collect my thoughts. and I happened to land a job in Emory, South Dakota, was where he grew up, actually, where he went to high school and grade school, working for a couple, husband and wife, well into their 80s, and this gentleman's wife had Alzheimer's.
Oh, yes.
You know, and not being in a great situation as I was.
Not at
it was
all.
very difficult for me. And so things proceeded, and one afternoon I just got fed up, and not to be, you know, caught, I used a payphone and looked in the yellow pages. I was desperate, and I looked under abortion. This wonderful lady came on the phone, and I said, you know, I need help. And she says, let me pick you up this afternoon. I'm going to take you to my office here in Mitchell. I said, you have it. You got it. So she shows me all these films, and I was totally disgusted. And she says, I'm going to give you another option. So I have this wonderful lady who lives down the street. She's 73 years old. She's looking for a roommate. I said, really? Because you know you don't want to do this with you. Write it down. So I moved in with this lady. She was 73 years old, and she got me back into church. And I started going to church faithfully and doing church functions, and I decided to get rebaptized in a Christian church.
Right.
And so I was going through the classes, and I was teaching some youth classes, and at the time I was working at a computer place that made floppy disks, and I was going to school. And I remember the pastor telling me, you know, Tracy, there's going to be a time, there's a door here, and you're about reaching that time, you're going to have to make a decision. You know, either you want to go with the Lord or you want to go elsewhere. He says, and someone will try you. And I thought he was just full of it, you know. Growing up in a big family, big Catholic family, I'd never been in that kind of position. So one evening, and it kind of struck me weird, one evening I left both doors open. I slept in the basement, and there was 2 doors to my room, and I left the television on. And I read my pass out of my Bible, and I went to sleep. And I don't know what time it was in the morning because it's awful dark in the basement, being one little window underground.
Sure.
And all of a sudden, I hear 2 doors slam and the TV turn off. I'm freaking out.
Yeah, of course, somebody's there.
And then I open my eyes, and I see not an apparition, but a silhouette with 2 red eyes like you saw from Amityville Horror.
Yes.
I have chills right now remembering this. And this voice said, come with me. Come with me. Now, I heard other people talking about being paralyzed.
Yes.
I was paralyzed. I couldn't scream. I couldn't say anything. And all of a sudden in my mind, all I remember in my mind saying was, Jesus save me. Jesus save me. And then I was able to roll over on my belly and put a pillow over my head. And it was gone. And the next day, the doors were still open, and the TV was on. So we went and we talked to the pastor about this because I'm freaking out. Selma, being in her room right upstairs, never heard a thing. And the pastor came down and he anointed all the doorknobs and he blessed the whole house, and I never heard anything again after that. And now I have...
Do you wonder sometimes whether there was a subliminal or not such a subliminal suggestion given to you by the priest which caused this in your own mind, or if it was absolutely real?
It was real. I mean, I even thought through that, you know, being, I was 22, and, you know, I'm like, I know I'm more intelligent than this, you know, my mind doesn't play tricks on me. And, I mean, I looked a couple times at this thing, and I just saw its eyes, and it came close.
I take it you went ahead with a divorce.
I went ahead with the divorce, and I had a very happy, healthy child that was born on Valentine's Day.
I appreciate the story. Thank you.
Thank you.
You take care.
You too.
Red eyes. Wildcard line, you're on the air. Hi.
Hello. How are you doing, Art?
I'm okay, sir. Where are you?
Northern California.
All right.
I'm an investigator for the county here, and I had to go up to this place about 25 miles up this old dirt road.
Yes.
And the people I was talking to, they told me that this house is haunted that was on this property, and nobody lived in it.
When you say you're an investigator for the county, what do you mean?
I'm a fraud investigator.
Fraud. Okay. Mm-hmm.
And anyway, I was talking to them, and they told me a few stories about this house getting attacked by this mean male ghost. And I kind of just blew it off. Then I talked to my girlfriend the next day and told her about it. And she talked me into going up there. So we spent a total of 6 nights up there and got some really neat pictures. When we first went into the house, everything seemed to be okay. But then we smelled like rotting flesh.
Rotting flesh.
Yeah. Real strong odor. Excuse me. Along with a lot of cold spots in the house. And the majority of it seemed to be in the kitchen and the hallway. We looked around, couldn't find anything. Of course, this house hasn't been lived in 10 years either. So later on, my girlfriend and her daughter decided to play with the Ouija board. And that's when everything really started to get exciting. I'm taking pictures and playing with the Ouija board, and it's probably around 11, 12 o'clock at night. And all of a sudden, the chair flies back that she's sitting in, my girlfriend. She gets up, she's holding her knee, and she got kicked in the knee, or hit in the knee, which left a bruise. Immediately after that, the door, which is right behind me, the handle turned. Now there's no one around, and it's close to midnight if it wasn't midnight.
Right.
I was ready to go at that point, but since, we're so far back there on this dirt road, so I had to go ahead and spend the night. Of course, I can't sleep, and we're all laying in the living room, and then I hear footsteps upstairs, like children running. There's also supposed to be 2 ghost children in this house also. Now, 6 months ago, I wouldn't have believed this until it happened to me. Hear footsteps running upstairs and a door slam. And I decided to go ahead and take the tape recorder out at that time and set it up and just let it play. And the next day I listened to the tape recorder. I heard a small child say, help me, twice. Never heard this. Never, ever heard it. Just incredible. Just incredible. Got pictures of orbs, orbs in motion. There's sent them to the Ghost Web, and he posted a few of them, and I finally made my own website because I have about 400 pictures.
400?
Yeah, that I've taken up there in that 6-day.
Why don't you send me, some email and give me your site. I'll take a look and put up a link.
Okay. You bet.
How would that be, all right?
You bet.
Okay, thank you very much, and take care. As a matter of fact, I would like to get any ghost photographs that anybody has. So if you've got a good one, by all means, send it to Art Bell at P.O. Box 4755 in Haunted Pahrump, that's P-A-H-R-U-M-P, Nevada, zip code 89041-4755. And if you cannot scan them, I would be more than happy to scan them for you and get them up. East of the Rockies, you're on the air. Hi.
Hello, Art.
Hello.
It's Mike from Philadelphia, PA.
Philadelphia.
Yes. I'm a little nervous.
That's all right. Relax.
About 14 months ago, me and my wife and my dog and my kid moved into a house. It's built in the 40s. And I showed my stepfather the basement.
Mm-hmm.
And I was standing about 6 feet away from him, and he was only standing on the stairs. And I seen this apparition of a man walking behind him, going towards the back door. Now, I didn't think anything of it at the time. But that, half hour later, I thought about it. What was that? And then I came home and went to the store one night. It was like 2 o'clock in the morning.
Right.
And I came in the basement, and we had a dog who was about 6 months old. And it was that size of a large cat walked by me towards the back door. And I thought it was my dog.
Right.
He was asleep upstairs. And I had mentioned to my wife, and she seen the thing walking from the kitchen to the living room. So we asked the neighbors if they had a cat. the guy that lived there, he died, and his wife was still alive, but she got sick, and she moved into an apartment or whatever.
Was it a cat?
I think so, because we asked the neighbors if they had a cat, and they said yes.
Okay.
But it wasn't an evil feeling. It was like they were checking us out and moving in their house. You know what I mean?
Yes. Well, cats do that.
Yeah, it was like a ghost cat. It sounds crazy, but...
No, not crazy. If look, cats, anybody who owns one, a cat or a dog, knows that they have individual personalities and probably every bit as liable to come back as a ghost as a human.
Yes. Can I have one more quick story?
Sure.
I used to work in a restaurant, and at night, I used to wash the dishes or whatever. And I found this restaurant used to be a Marine base, and then a church, and then a restaurant. And it was real late at night, and I was coming out of the dish room, and I seen a figure out of the corner of my eye standing right about 2 feet away from me. And I turned and looked at him, and he wasn't there anymore. So I quickly got out of there real quick. So.
Well, I would too. I have seen, thank you very much, similar figures. And you always see them in your peripheral vision. You just sort of halfway see them. Enough so you know they really were or are there. But they're not quite there when you focus your vision fully on them. Odd. West of the Rockies, you're on the air. Hi.
Hey, Art, how you doing?
All right.
This is Jim from Santa Fe.
Yes, sir.
I just wanted to share a little experience that I had back in my Air Force days. It wasn't too long ago, but I was stationed out at a base in California, and every few years or so they have an air show. And part of the air show is they've got these planes flying around and what have you, and they also have some older jets on display in one of the hangars, and it's open to the public. And, I didn't get to work that day, but I had to work a mid, so I came in around, 11 or 12.
Sure.
And, my duty post was, I had to sit out of this hangar. I had an EAL, which is an entry authority list and tells you who can come in and out of there. And the guy I relieved told me, yeah, it was quiet. There's nobody in there, just the planes or whatever. And there's only a couple ways in and out of this hangar. So I go in there, and I'm looking around. They had like F-4s and F-5s, some other planes. And I was, pretty interested in the ones from Vietnam. Yeah, some of them even had like bullet holes in them. And I took a flashlight, and I went up to, to the undercarriage of an F-4. And, I was just looking around and checking out the lights and the tire and what have you. And I just kicked the tire, just see how much air was in. I don't know why I did it, but
people always kick tires.
Oh yeah, especially when you're bored. And I started walking away from it, and I heard this like tap, as if somebody was tapping on the glass. I turned around and I looked up, and in the cockpit there was what appeared to be like somebody sitting in there, and it really spooked me out because it was wearing like I don't know how to describe it, but like Red Baron, the goggles and the scarf and the cap.
Sure.
Guy was sitting there grinning at me, and I was like, whoa, and I made sure there was nobody in there, and it really spooked me out.
This was a Red Baron type in an F-4?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and it really spooked me out, and I didn't say anything to anybody until actually about 2 weeks ago. This happened about 5 years ago, and I talked to one of my friends. And
I'd be disinclined to tell that story myself.
Yeah.
That's an amazing story. And so you just, took off?
Oh, I couldn't take off. I just went back outside the hangar and called one of my friends who's on a roaming patrol to come over, and I just told him I felt really sick. Didn't tell him why, until like 5 years later.
That makes sense. I appreciate your story. Thank you. And while we're on the military subject, perhaps a correction, I don't know. Dear Art, my name is Jeffrey, and he gives a last name. I won't read that. And I also served aboard the USS Enterprise. One of your callers said the Independence took a torpedo hit. That is a Forrestal-class carrier and has never taken enemy fire whatsoever, not even during Vietnam. The explosion in fact did occur and was caused due to a maintenance error, but the stories he told are true. I've served on 5 carriers. The one I liked best was the USS Ranger. There was a ghost of a chief that wanders through the ship's galley. He was killed in a fire that broke out in the main machinery room, number 3. So that may be a slight correction, but the story remains. Don't blame you for a second. Well, listen, we're out of time. We could go and go and go and go, if after listening to 5 hours of all of this, you don't believe we're more than flesh and bones, then you just haven't been listening. Tell everybody good night.
Good night, everybody, and sleep with your lights on.
I imagine a lot of people will be doing just that this night. That's Ghost to Ghost. I'm Art Bell from the high desert. Good night.